And a very good morning to you. Welcome along to Thursday's OTB AM. As ever, if you want to get involved in our conversation this morning, you can leave a comment under whatever stream you're watching this on. If you happen to be watching us on YouTube, it's youtube.com/offtheball. Make sure you hit subscribe on that. And anytime we go live, you'll get our notifications so that you can join the fun. Or, of course, if you're driving and you don't want to be distracted by us, you can just log on to offtheball.com, hit play on the player, and you can listen to this. A bit like, doing a tactics board on the radio like Kenny was last night. Good morning to you, Kenny.
Yeah, morning. I've got a better idea if you don't want to listen to. Just switch the radio off. And leave it off.
No. We don't want that.
Only kidding. Well.
Big anniversary yesterday. It was big. Was it the...
Wedding? Harry and Meghan, what, 2-day anniversary? One week anniversary of the wedding? Not even a week.
Leinster beat... who's Leinster beating the first one? Leicester in their first ever Heineken Cup final. It was yesterday. That was the anniversary of that.
So not to do with the wedding.
Well, it was actually my wedding anniversary yesterday.
Was it?
Which I forgot twice.
Congratulations.
Thanks very much. Yeah, I forgot it in the morning, and then got home. My daughter went, "Oh, happy anniversary, Dad!" And I went, "Oh shit, I have to go out." And then got stuck in traffic for 40 minutes.
When you went out, did you come back?
I came back with flowers eventually. Exactly.
I thought you said you went out instead out.
Yeah, no,
that would have been a bad
that would have been. But it was also I had forgotten the anniversary of Saipan. Did this come up yesterday in conversation?
Well, somebody did throw in, it is the 16th anniversary of Saipan, as if that should have meant that the relevance of the 16th anniversary was lost on me, to be honest with you. Sweet 16.
Saipan, Sweet 16. There's nice alliteration going on there, Kenny.
Oh, were you out last night?
I was at a gig. I wasn't.
Okay.
Why do you say that?
You're a little bit croaky. Your normal baritone is even a few octaves lower this morning.
Yeah,
were you down the front singing, giving it?
I wasn't on the front singing.
You're moshing it down the front. Oh, come on, seriously.
Are you still up from last night?
No, I'm not. I've been to bed. This is like what an ambush here on air.
He is looking a bit bleary-eyed, isn't he, now that you say it?
Okay, I'm not.
Throw a bit of product in the hair, haven't you?
I'm always bleary-eyed.
Splashed a bit of ice cold water on his face, thinking that'll get me through the morning.
Nobody's going to ask me about this, are they?
you can't have an alarm at 5 a.m, Kenny, and not be bleary-eyed, is what I say.
16 years to the day since my mother phoned my school asking for my principal to take me aside and tell me about Roy Keane's departure from Saipan. That's Neil Tracy, our colleague here. Imagine that, like a knock on the door. And
Wow, amazing.
I think fair play to the ma. It's like, listen, this can't break in front of everybody else. He needs to take him aside and make sure that he's given it in privacy.
School counsellors need to be brought into the room. It needs to be handled very delicately. Yeah.
You guys had no idea what you were doing. There's poor traumatised children all over Ireland.
Well, it was true. It was true because we were so cocooned from the whole thing over there. We just didn't obviously realise the significance of it to a point, but not in a wider context. And of course, back then, social media just wasn't.
Yeah, luckily.
I think only two of the lads could use a computer. I think it was only Matty Holland and somebody else that actually get on and put a computer on and try and find out what was going on at home. So yeah, interesting times.
16 years since my dad appeared on national news with other fully grown men handing a letter into FAI headquarters insisting on a reassuring statement.
Not asking, insisting on it.
Yeah. You guys were on last night asking about what's your first World Cup memory, and my favourite one here is at Meat Badness, Kev leaving the ground and missing the rebound of Ian Hart's pen. You were like, did that happen? That's not a real thing.
I couldn't remember. I can remember Harty missing the penalty all right, but the rebound episode, just
hit. I'm going to turn this up so you can hear a bit of the commentary.
Operating technology.
Okay, hang on. He says, he's going to turn this up so you can actually hear it.
Have you watched this back before?
I'm not overly comfortable with this, with Kev not being in the studio.
You know the play button?
He et tu brute. This feels et tu brute.
We come to Barry Caesar.
Click that play button there.
Just that. The play button was right on his backside. So I get replay of it. That came in very quick. I've got it. Oh, it's a high bounce. Oh my God! He's gone through the laces. He's gone to absolutely laroop it. What are you suggesting? More of a controlled side foot?
Well, the keeper is on the ground.
I saw the glory there. He's fucking numpty. What the that could have mentioned last night.
It's like the ghost of Kev. He's like, what are you doing? That was his Ball Sports video at autoplay.
That's a classic example. The ball coming off, having time to assess the situation, realising what's at stake.
I got to score the equaliser!
I'm sure he had visions of hitting that, smashing that through his laces, underneath of the bar, bouncing down, up, that type of goal, which we talked about forever. Instead of this one, which is still being talked about, but for the different reasons.
Luckily, Robbie Keane scored a penalty later on and spared his blushes somewhat.
Do you feel like the details of the 2002 World Cup are just a little bit blurry because of everything that happened prior to the World Cup?
No, my World Cup memories generally are pretty sketchy, like, you know what I mean? So that wouldn't be no different. That kind of, I suppose that dominates from an Irish perspective. Yeah, clearly that dominates. Although, like I was saying to you inside, apart from obviously our own story there, 2002, I'm struggling. In terms of real standout memories from that, it's all about from our perspective, wasn't it? The games in particular, the Spanish game was a great game, really. I mean, I didn't play to it. I only came off the bench a couple of times. So I was basically a supporter over there anyway. I was on the side looking in for the majority of it. But I think that Germany game, in terms of atmosphere, I don't know if any of your viewers actually over at that game, I'm sure a few of them were. That was absolutely electric. I remember that and Robbie's goal at the end. I mean, that
because it's so late. Because it looks like that's the end and we're going home, and it's literally the last kick of the game, really.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the context of the goal coming so late. Exactly. Yeah, I'm not sure if I kept our word. We still had Saudi Arabia to play, didn't we, Jerry? Sorry to correct you there. We could still potentially gone through with a beating now. Touche. But
fair point.
Yeah, that Robbie Keane moment was phenomenal. But yeah, once you're involved, that's it. It tends to dominate, doesn't it? Italian 90 is the same, isn't it? I was saying, yeah, like we were there and we done absolutely fantastic. But apart from that, take us out of the equation there. Italian 90, what the hell happened there? Like
nil all draw.
Yeah,
our 1-0 win for is Andy Brema scores the winner of the penalty in the final against. It's West Germany. It's that.
Yeah, I thought that was dour enough. Some people threw a few
really crap.
Yeah, and it just. Funny enough, it's the earlier memories
England.
for me.
It's England and Roger Milla and Cameroon. That's when that tournament was good at the quarter-final stage.
Yeah, England,
Gary Lineker
exactly.
scores a couple of goals.
We said it, yeah. England was a big story at that World Cup as well. They played. That was a really good England
Gaza,
story.
they reached the semi-finals and Gaza, his tears and...
Yeah, but let's not come on. That's all we're going to talk about, Gaza's tears and, you know.
Or were we the story of that World Cup? Like, do people abroad, when they reflect on Italian 90, say, the Irish...
A nil all draw...
Unsurprisingly, no, I don't think they do.
It wasn't really a serious question, to be quite honest. If you skew the picture a little bit,
2 goals in 5 games.
Yeah, it's Gaza's tears is the most iconic thing from Italian 90.
No, it's Rene Higuita.
That's doing him a disservice.
Colombia and Cameroon.
Oh, the opening.
Yeah, so
but that was an awful game.
Higuita tries to dribble out and gets caught, and so Carlos Valderrama, all that. That's that Colombia team.
Good hair. You're impressive.
Things you remember as a 13-year-old, it's like, that guy, he's pretty impressive.
He looks impressive, yeah. Carlos Valderrama did look very impressive. Kinija was another one got made with a long hair, long flowing hair, that type of thing.
That's the 1990 homecoming, is it? Yeah, so that's a picture. It's insane.
It's disappeared. The whole back of the bus is gone, isn't it?
Did you go to the homecoming?
90, no, I don't remember being out on the street, to be honest. 89, I would have just done me late. I just headed over to England then the summer of 89, so it would have been my first year in professional football. So I remember packing my Nissan Micra after that final. I had a 1 year's contract. I remember I might have got another year after that, but I remember the season finishing in May. Would have played reserve football. Actually made my debut towards the end of the season. We got relegated. Not the first time in my career on.
From the first division or the second division?
The old first division. Right. Funny enough, we went down. But I remember packing me little Nissan Micra suitcase at the lot, smashing down there. Couldn't get the back down, just constantly booting and trying to squeeze everything in. And then hitting the road, the A5 all the way to Holyhead. I'm sure people have done that journey. Whoosh, floored it. B&I, ferry into Dublin, back in my Mars, 15 minutes. Happy days.
In time for the start of the World Cup. Did you watch the whole World Cup here?
I must have done, honest to God, yeah.
The England game.
Must have watched it here.
Yeah. The penalty shootout.
That's incredible that you don't remember.
No, I don't. Obviously, remember. I know the moments, and I can see. Yeah. I can't honestly remember where I was. I was probably running around Priorswood Park, to be honest with you. Cause a bit of a nut job then, because I would have come back thinking, I've got to keep fit. I would have got another year's contract. Would have thrown an extra 20 quid with me. I thought I'd cracked it like a new 1 year's contract. I thought, got to keep fit. I would have been up, boom, round. prize word. I got to keep myself fit, got to get myself strong. So that World Cup might pass me by, to be honest with you.
Fair enough.
Purely focused on myself, all about me.
Do you remember all the Ireland 2002 games?
Yeah.
And where you were for all of them? Because you're in your family living room.
No, I was in a hotel in Killarney for the Spain game prior to Kerry playing Cork that day. I remember that. I remember being in the class. I think everybody of my age will remember being in a classroom when Robbie Keane scores that goal. And I have one particular memory. After Keane scores that goal, we're all told to go outside and play football, and there was a guy in my class whose name was Keane, and there was another guy who had an Ireland jersey with Keane on the back, and they had a massive scrap about who would be Robbie Keane for that particular football game. I can't remember who won, but yeah, it's vivid. It is absolutely vivid. The Saudi Arabia game is the least vivid. I remember getting up early to watch Cameroon, and I remember Olembe was playing for Cameroon, and my father was from a place called Glembe, and I can remember even just the running joke that, that guy sounds like Glembe. Like, that's how vivid all the memories are from 2002. Saudi Arabia, though, is a bit of a blur. I don't really recall watching that at all.
So so what were the times though? So what were the kickoffs over
Early.
here? Double eight. That was it. Was it?
Germany was in the afternoon. That was
school.
Yeah, that was yeah. I think I felt like it was after lunch. I could be wrong, but I felt like it was an afternoon game. Cameroon was obviously an 8 a.m. start on a Saturday morning.
Spain game was pretty early as well.
Spain game at a similar time on a Sunday morning, obviously, because it was the same day as the Munster final or a semi-final. Can't remember. But Saudi Arabia then just midweek. That's probably rubbish. very early on a school day, maybe. I can't remember.
Rubbish times, weren't they?
Not great, but I remember one of the games we were out in Howth and everybody was pissed after it. I was like, we were getting leery at like noon. Jesus. We're not good at early kickoffs.
We don't need them anyway, let's just say. We don't need an excuse.
No, yeah, true. It's nice that little lead in though, that kind of after. Even I think the 2-3 o'clock in the morning kickoff is preferable to an early morning one, because that's your kind of night out and 1-2 in the morning, and then you can it's natural then, isn't it?
And you can go to bed after it.
Yeah, potentially depending on the result. You know what I mean? You have a good night, you're flying, buzzing, and then kick off 2 in the morning. Place is absolutely rocking, isn't it? No matter where you might be. But
that was the USA Cup, USA
8-9 in the morning, get up. You know, the continental breakfast now. I'm sure you most mornings like you do at home. You know what I mean? It's not quite a couple of boiled eggs. soldiers on the side.
Soft and runny. Tommy says he was allowed to move the mattress of his bed into the sitting room for the duration of the World Cup during the night, so he could get up and watch the early games. That's forward thinking from the Rooney parents.
I almost,
great stories then. Great
stories.
Like
you can almost vividly recall what happens around the games as well. Like Denmark were definitely playing a game directly after Ireland Cameroon, because I just remember watching Schmeichel.
No recollection of that.
I don't know who they were playing. Denmark were certainly playing directly after Ireland Cameroon. There's bits around it, like, I mean, I'm very surprised. Like, I know you talk about your self-focus and stuff like that, which is a fair excuse.
I was only kidding, really, to be honest with you. But I was just trying to sidetrack from me horrendous memory.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just horrendous memory, and I'm giving you too much credit.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. Breaking news from Tommy, though. It wasn't all very, very good from his folks. He wasn't given a letter of permission from his mum to leave and watch the Germany game at home, so had to sit on the hill at lunch listening to the game while his mates were across the road watching it. The radio was delayed, and he saw the lads running out of the house celebrating the equaliser before it actually happened.
But at least your teachers brought TV into the classroom.
Everybody was in the one classroom in our school. Yeah.
The teachers, though, what school wouldn't allow a TV to be brought in to be played? Really? That's harsh. That's cruel. Yeah. That's cruel, isn't it?
That's me, the education for you.
It doesn't make any sense. It was a Gael school, but they were allowed to watch the Iran playoff, so you can watch Iran, but not Germany. Whatever.
Iran-Iraq playoff, that one. Or the other one. All right.
The other one, yeah. Right, let's move on. We'll bring in the newspapers. I'll tell you what's coming up first, may as well. So, talking UFC and US sports a little bit later on, we have Eoin's crazy madcap idea of 23 burning spicy GAA questions, as spicy as a spice burger. Not very spicy at all. And we're going to talk Liverpool, Madrid, and maybe some Villa as well with Kenny after we do the papers first.
AM. In association with Air. Get Air Sport free with Air Broadband.
On the yoke, isn't it? And then the delayed thing as well, just a rough
That's Tommy.
Oh, that's Tommy.
That's Tommy.
God.
What's a spice burger?
Oh, let's not go through this. Even this came up last night again. I'm not talking about.
I didn't realise if it came up last night. Let's not have this conversation.
No, I got mentioned last night because it came up before that.
Anyway, move
Are
on.
you serious?
Yeah, I've never heard of a spice burger.
Never heard of.
Never heard of a spice burger,
Ah,
yeah.
come on.
Yeah, seriously, it's a generation thing.
But it's
Generation.
it's a culty thing as well, mostly.
It can't be, because I was, that's what I'm saying, that's why I mentioned it. I was spice burger once a week.
Yeah, but you're a townie.
It's culty, not just generational. See from the country. They've got spice burgers all over the country.
Never.
Are you saying it's a Dublin thing? The spice burger is a Dublin thing?
Maybe.
I've never run into a spice burger.
All right.
But the inside of your mouth doesn't want to run into a spice burger, I'll tell you that. Fair now, there's only one winner there.
Or your belly.
Now where it's going to be running out if I know that. About 20 minutes later.
I'm going to start with the Irish Independent this morning. So Schmidt fully loaded for Oz Tour. This is the World Cup squad. It isn't actually the World Cup squad, but Rory O'Connor is making the point that if there was a World Cup in the morning, this is the squad that would be going. Tygburn and Rossburn are the only uncapped players in it. Venue blow for Rossies if they reach Connacht final. That's a Martin Brahney story saying that if Roscommon end up playing Galway, the chances if they and Galway qualify for it, it means that the game won't be Hyde Park because of capacity and safety related issues. And then Maurizio Sarri has moved to the front of the queue to replace Antonio Conte at Chelsea after he left Napoli.
Great name.
Quick roundabout. It's like,
Yeah, generally speaking, that's why, yeah.
Napoli manager comes off. Yeah, Ancelotti comes in.
Yeah, time is a flat circle.
Chelsea job. And so, odd man out there is Antonio Conte, left to spend his 9 million quid and do nothing.
Yeah, he won't be happy. His missus won't be happy having him back in the house for a year. Will she? That ain't going to last.
I'd say he's
too
a
long.
nightmare.
9 million quid though. I mean, like, surely there's a bit of bartering that can go on. It was like, here, listen, I know I'm going to be around a bit of a pain in the hole, but I've got 9 million quid.
Yeah, that's very, very, very cynical.
After tax,
very
it's
cynical
even after
attitude.
tax, it's
I
4.5.
bet he remembers his wife's wedding anniversary.
I'd say he does.
It does, yeah.
Twice.
Not that foolish.
Twice in one day. And then a brilliant headline on the Frano piece this morning in the Irish Independent. Munster move would bring a premature end to Carberry career. And then he quotes Siegfried Sassoon, one of my favourite poems. If I were fierce and bald and short of breath, I'd live with scarlet majors on the base and speed glum heroes up the line to death. You'd see me with my puffy, petulant face, guzzling and gulping in the best hotel, reading the roll of honour. Poor young chap, I'd say. I used to know his father well. Yes, we've lost heavily in this last scrap. And when the war is done and youth stone dead, I'd toddle safely home and die in bed. Siegfried Sassoon. It's like he's painting the IRFU as the sergeant majors back at base, pushing their young men out to die. Like, it's a pretty interesting metaphor. Munster play a brand of rugby which Joey Carberry would not be suited to because, let's face it, he's a finesse, skillful number 10, and they need someone who's going to kick the ball into the corners. That's Frano's argument this morning.
And Joey Carberry pick up a more kind of rudimentary style of rugby.
Why would you change his style of play? And he's like clearly potentially one of the greatest.
What's wrong with having a number of different styles of play in your locker? What happens when Joe
Anybody
Schmidt...
can kick the ball to the corners.
What happens when Joe Schmidt leaves the Ireland job and Ireland aren't playing a brand of rugby like they're playing currently, and there's a change? Like, how do you become more versatile? I mean, there's nothing wrong with a bit of versatility. There's nothing wrong with showing him different systems. Like, I don't see the huge issue with that. It's like the same point I make when I see absolutely nothing wrong with putting Joey Carberry in the back foot for a year or two, given what an unbelievable time he's having at Leinster, which is no bad thing. Success breeds success, but anyway, it's the old Joey Carberry chestnut now, which has become almost the Saipan when it comes to talking points of our generation. It's certainly when it comes to rugby. So I'm sick of talking about him, but
how good is he? I haven't seen enough.
He's pretty good. Yeah, he's pretty good. Needs some game time, unfortunately.
Is he going to get that at Leinster?
Yeah, I think he will get game time at Leinster. It'll be split between fullback and out half. So he'll play. He was injured this year, so didn't get to play. Sure. And so everybody goes, "Oh, he's never going to get to play," but actually he was injured, and that's why he didn't play, as opposed to not being picked. So
I suppose with a couple of some of the young fella himself, will get to that stage where he'll be desperate to play and play regularly and play a more integral role in the team. Would that mean he might look at other options potentially Munster because of that? Or
yeah, well, just in general, not even in this case. If you were a young footballer or even a manager looking after a young footballer, and somebody was telling you can't send him to that club because that club are always going to be on the back foot, his confidence will be shattered because they're going to be constantly losing that. Do you buy into that, or do you feel the things you could learn from being in a negative situation outweighs that?
Well, I think you learn an awful lot, probably the most from playing week to week, and experiencing that yourself, whether it's on a rugby pitch or a football pitch. But your environment is important, and I think Leinster at the moment clearly a winning machine, and it's not easy to step away from that, whether it's a rugby or a football in context. Even if you're only playing a reasonably small part at the moment, that kind of winning environment and the kind of environment which they have around the squad, I think that's, that can be almost a fix. It's very difficult to step away from that, but there will come a point, I'd imagine, when the lad will need to play, he'll need to hone the skills, he'll need to taste the kind of, action week in, week out. So yeah, I think even footballers will tell you that being at the best clubs, being a squad player in one of the big clubs is great. You're kind of winning trophies as such, and media spotlight, the whole thing, the professional nature, the setup is absolutely fantastic. But it comes a point where you think, look, I want to play. I need to play now. I'm in my prime. I need to play. If that means taking a sideways step, or I wouldn't say it's a backward step, joining Munster, a different style of play is an interesting one. I hear what you're saying there. From Munster's perspective, getting somebody in with a different set of skills, can they integrate him into their setup down there? Could he maybe change the dynamic down there a little bit because of his individual talent? He might have to modify his game to kind of play within the kind of Munster setup. I don't know enough, but
or he would actually help them change and evolve into a different style of play, which might be more successful in the latter stages of competitions than the one they have at the moment. So
it's great though. In the rugby thing as well, I've said it before, I don't know a huge amount. Obviously I'm a big fan of the rugby over here club and obviously the national team, but the young talent we've got, and the names there continue to be mentioned over the last 12, 18 months, like, Jack Ryan was the latest one off the back of the James Ryan off the back of the Heineken triumph, and phenomenal really, like, in terms of some of the young talent we have coming through. It's great, isn't it?
And there's more coming through too.
The success we've had, you feel as if we've plateaued out. Genius, where's the next generation come from? Well, in the rugby setup, it already seems to be there, and it's not just coincidence, Jared, is it? It's been kind of earmarked for the last couple of these players, be kind of earmarked, you know what I mean?
And they come through and
developed,
they don't
targeted, and
they don't disappoint. The way so many, like in football, as soon as you show some promise, the whole country's like, this guy's gonna be amazing. He's the new Damien Duff, Robbie Keane, whoever, and it's like so much pressure's heaped on them. And
the mindset is just their individual skill sets. It's the mindset, the mentality, the young players as well, how they talk, how they project themselves. Hugely impressive figures, rugby players generally, but those younger players as well. It's great to hear it.
Let's move on to the Times Ireland. So here it is. Emery must make top 4. Ronaldo, I will be playing at 41. It's Cristiano Ronaldo wants to be the new Tom Brady, and no Russians in drug test areas. That's an exclusive they have there about the World Cup. Emery got to make the top 4. It's pretty obvious. Not this isn't really breaking news that Arsenal need to be in the top 4 next season. Their new manager. What's the criteria for doing a good job? Champions League qualification. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it will certainly help. I don't necessarily mean you think he's going to be out the door. I think they'll have to factor in he's got to do some close to major surgery there in the summer as well. I think that's one of the reasons potentially why he's been brought in. I put him in the same category as the likes of maybe Ancelotti, Allegri, Benitez, that type of manager, more experienced, kind of been around the block, particularly in Europe. So it hadn't surprised me they've gone for Emery, although he is reasonably young in managerial terms. But I think it's his ability he's got a good reputation, reading a few articles about him, people speaking about him in terms of good man-to-man manager, good coach on the training pitch, really kind of shaking up the group, organisation ability, collectively working with the group, a lot of analysis off the pitch as well, so making kind of small and significant improvements collectively with the group and individually with players as well, mindset as well, and that's where Arsenal need, as you've just said there, Jerry. He's not coming into an Arsenal football club absolutely flying, winning machine, very little to change, just tweak a few things. They need some fundamental change there in terms of mindset and also personnel at the football club. So potentially that's why they've leaned towards him, maybe as opposed to maybe an Allegri or an Ancelotti, who's more of a, more of a leadership figure, just to come in and continue what's been already at the football club.
Needs to be a bit of a revolution there. Okay, so on to the Irish Times. Versatility counter Schmidt considers World Cup options. That's really Tyke Byrne and Ross Byrne, as I said, the only uncapped players. Gavin Kumsky's story there about how this is going to be a dry run for the World Cup, and then the football stories that they have is really about the Champions League final, just a couple of days away now. Jordan Henderson stressing the need for Liverpool to take the fight to Madrid. If
all those cliches are all going to be coming out here.
We'll talk about this a bit more. I guess it is important that Liverpool are on the front foot and are playing their game, as opposed to we're going to sit back and try and wait for this game to bleed into stoppage time, extra time, penalties.
Yeah, but you can't decide we're going to be on the front foot against Real Madrid, because you don't get that opportunity to make that decision at times, because they'll dictate the game to you. They're so good tactically in terms of controlling possession of the football. They will force you on the back foot, whatever that kind of means. That means a back foot. Instead, they're going to push you back towards the edge of your 18-yard box. Yeah, but it's not going to be through choice. They're going to actually force you back. They're that good. So you have to accept that. You got to soak it up, keep your concentration, and break from that low defensive block and hurt them on the counter-attack, which we know Liverpool can do.
All right, the Examiner, the lead there is obviously, again, Unai Emery, the new Arsenal boss Emery, vows to transmit energy and emotion to the fans.
He took a vow. Wow, he took a vow. Wow.
Pinky promise.
Religious significance even to it, attached to it.
The Irish News, I've got a PDF here. It is Tyrone have some injury worries. Doubts over Brennan, Kavanagh and McCann. Bradley's a fresh injury worry there. And Kayla Mooney says down or stronger than last year. Well, hopefully they are. Maybe they'll beat Antrim this weekend. We'll see. And then finally for now, the Racing Post, the lead story is Unai Emery is 9-2 to guide the Gunners to league glory. 9-2 to win the league.
Very short odds.
No way.
Top four glory.
Wouldn't spend anybody's money on that.
Top four, no way. No way.
9-4 to make the Champions League.
Oh, exactly. Thank you.
9-2.
I'm not having either of those.
No, not to win the league.
I'm not even having
No chance.
At any point in his career.
You got to get yourself into.
At any point.
At any
in
point in
his
his
career.
Arsenal career.
9-4 for Champions League. I'm not even having that. I don't think Arsenal will qualify for the Champions League next year.
No, I don't. Obviously, a lot of business to be done. I'd reserve judgments to the end of the transfer window. But yeah, they're certainly playing catch up. Like Chelsea again, you imagine going to invest significantly. Who missed out as well.
25-1 to win the league.
That's more like it.
Makes it worse.
Keep your money in your pocket.
We'll move on to the Herald's. The back page leads with Wicklow, Dublin. Go for it, Wicklow, says McGee. That's the Dubs legend and former Garden County boss, Johnny McGee, saying that the underdogs should not park the bus and they should go for it, go on the front foot. That cliche once again.
Even creeping into the GA, parking the bus, huh?
There's also an exclusive here by Des Berry that Leinster have got a boost for their double bid on the fitness front. Johnny Sexton, Izan Asewa and Dan Levy are all said to be fit for Saturday's PRO14 final against Scarlets, which kicks off at 6 o'clock. So about a 15-minute overlap with the Champions League there, unfortunately, Kenny. So hopefully Leinster has them out the gap.
Shambles. We've spoken about it. It's a shambles.
The playoff final is the main sporting event on Saturday, of course.
Of course it is, yeah. Aston Villa. Yeah, like you have an opportunity on this platform, Ger, to give like a vocal plea to your fellow Aston Villa fans to tell them to get behind the side on Saturday.
You're going allegiance to the claret and blue.
Yeah.
Wow, where's this? Is there a backstory here?
My sister moved to Birmingham. We went over to see a game. Paul McGrath was playing. It was
Big Paul.
91, I think.
I'll accept that.
They're playing Spurs, and David Platt scored a hat-trick, and Gary Lineker got subbed off because McGrath kicked him around the place and just killed him.
I'm not having that. Paul kicked him.
I mean, metaphorically. He brutalised him that day.
Yeah, but Paul, it was never that way, wasn't it, in terms of physically intimidating people? It's just like a force of nature.
Yeah.
He probably killed people with kindness, that physical
but
strength. But yeah, don't get me wrong, but it was never kind of, right, I'm going to hurt this fella.
No, it was never filthy, but when the ball was there,
absolutely.
He was killing you.
Oh, it's fierce, yeah.
The back page of the Mirror is going with Unai Emery as well. We'll be fearless is the headline here. Emery insists he can put Gunners back on top and even challenge Man City for the title next season. Confident words there from Unai Emery.
Hollow.
You've got...
Hollow.
You've got some bad news actually from a Waterford perspective when it comes to the hurling this weekend. Pádraig Mahoney and Austin Gleeson are out for their first game of the round robin series. They of course played 4 weeks in a row, so they're going to need to get those guys fit very, very quickly if they've got any chance of winning Munster, you'd suspect. You've also got Al Trafford. United opened up negotiations over £75 million Alderweireld transfer from Tottenham. Now that would be something if they forked out 75 mil.
Oh my God, talk about getting your pants pulled down again after the Sanchez. 75 million, that lad's a top class player. But he's right at the pinnacle. He hasn't got too many years left in him. Alderweireld means 75 million.
It's 29, yeah.
He's huge money, albeit he's one of the best around.
The back page of the Star is Slick Emery show. The new boss Unai is gunning for silverware. There's also this story from last night. Green Machine and Dubs rumbled by the Royals. Meads Dara Twain there celebrating after Meath beat Dublin in the Leinster Minor Football Championship 113-2-8. Some hope for those people. For the second year in a row, I've been told in my year by Tommy there, a proud Meath man, of course.
Clutching. Is that all he's got?
On the back page.
It's all resettled dubs anyway.
Yeah.
Who've moved out to Ashburn.
Basically, it's all the satellite.
That's where the talent pool is coming from. Is that what you're saying, Jay?
yeah.
Oh.
Or is it the inverse? Are Dublin stealing the Ashburn players when
They
Ashburn
do that.
is
They
in
do
Meath?
that a little bit if you're super good or if you're related to somebody who once played for the Dublin.
Yeah, exactly. On the back page of The Sun, it's Nias goes or we do. Everton crisis as stars threaten to quit over dressing room split. It's an interesting one here. Tom Davies is, after telling a pal, as they say in The Sun, had enough of the shit now. It's making me feel down every day.
What exactly? Can we expand on that?
Yeah, what did Nias do?
Well, I'm not quite sure. It says...
Splitting the dressing room over. It's not the Kimberly Mikado debate we were having last night. It's not, that hasn't caused a split in the dressing room, is it, surely?
I'm not quite sure.
It could be the number of hair dryers. It might be only 2 hair dryers in the dressing room. There's a constant fight over who gets to the hairdresser. It could be that type of...
Yeah, I'm not
something as important as that.
Very briefly, what was the Kimberly Mikado debate?
Oh, well, where do you stand on the Kimberly Mikado debate? You know, somebody offers you a Kimberly or Mikado, that's it.
A Kimberly or a Mikado.
What was the jump for? Yeah, Kimberly or Mikado. I went 65%. I got to say 64% of people would lean towards Mikado biscuit all day with a cup of tea. Because Kimberly's just got that little bit of a ginger. We spoke about it's got that little bit of a gingery taste, isn't it?
The Mikado is the one with the coconuts in the middle.
Yeah, the jam
in
and
the
2 big fluffy bits down the side, and a little biscuit, soft biscuit base.
A superior biscuit, I would say.
Well, I don't know superior, but I think it's most people's preference.
While you're
the core taste, that's what I'll say, Kimberly's.
While you're Googling that, let's have a look at the back page of The Guardian this morning. We can bring you up the image now. It's the important thing to connect with people. Emery's energy on show on day one at Arsenal. And finally then, The Telegraph, we can show you. It's best foot forward. It's an English cricket story. Leading the way this morning, The Daily Telegraph.
The chocolate Kimberleys, though, they win all day long.
Oh, no, forget it. That's like travesty. I won't even enter discussion.
Really? They're the best ones.
No, traditional. Just traditional, soft brown. Although I wasn't a big fan, like I said. And the Coke and creams don't even get mentioned.
No, that's fair enough.
I think they weren't mentioned.
Okay, so I was going to show you this. No, 2 quick comments first, right? Living in Cork in 2002, when Roy left, I got only 1 Keno and the number 10 on my jersey. A bit of a dick, aren't you? Some seriously dodgy looks walking around Cork. After the Germany game, I was vindicated. Hashtag OTB AM. And then Sorka Boyle says, Spice burgers are absolutely disgusting. You can buy them now in supermarkets from the frozen section.
Oh my God. Well, thank you, Sarka. I'm never buying a Spice burger.
No, it's worth. You've got to. No, you've got to. I don't know.
Are you that easily led that somebody texts in and goes, "Oh, they're terrible"?
A burger from the frozen section is no burger at all.
Well, forget about the frozen stage. Spice, but I don't know if it would have been in poor man's. It would have been your prime bit of.
What's in it? Come on. What's in a Spice burger? Explain to me what this thing is.
Well, it was like secret, wasn't it? That's the thing about it.
Secret, wow.
Spice.
You're really selling it.
Spice. You definitely knew there was spice when you took out and boiled it. I know that.
It's vegetarian.
Finish it. I couldn't never finish one.
It sounds like it's been
blow your mouth off.
It's been imported on an old wooden ship from the West Indies or somewhere. Just all the spices in between 2 buns.
It could be a Caribbean connection there, definitely. Spice burger and jerk chicken combination.
Yeah.
Spice burger and jerk. Well, okay. I'm. You're not really selling it, but I'm up for trying one.
I'm not trying to sell it. I've got to be honest. All I'm saying, it was on me plate once a week for about 10 years. Definitely not trying to sell it.
Could you get it in England?
Oh, no. Never saw it.
No.
Never saw it advertised in England.
No, fair enough.
But we've been taken over by Spice bags now, really, haven't we?
Spice Girls. Even.
You're about 20 years off with that cultural reference there, Kenny.
I know, they're making a comeback. Anyway.
I'm not having that girl power. By the way, the girl power is over. It's gone. After 2 of the Spice Girls didn't receive an invitation to the royal wedding at the weekend, what did the 3 do? Our loyalty to their 3 comrades went to the wedding anyway. Left them behind. Girl power is dead.
The split.
Girl power is dead.
The split seems to have happened there. Right, let's move on because Paul Scholes yesterday, courtesy of the European Tour, at Wentworth, along with a bunch of other celebrities, including some off-the-wall team members. I'm looking at you, Keith Wood and Brian Driscoll. The cameras walk up to Scholesy, and it turns out, well, have a look yourself.
Listen, I mean, it's all about expectations, really. I mean, it's almost impossible to get this one in 20 feet. So you got to reset your goals. You maybe even play a little bit out to the left. What do you think?
Oh, go for it.
What a shot! Oh, again!
Well, what did I say? What I told you about that, and I'm going for it.
What a shot! That's incredible.
That's you can check that out in the European Tour's Twitter feed.
My God. Normally you'd say if only he was that accurate with his passing, but in his case, he actually was.
That's not bad, is it? So that's there you go. AP McCoy, Pádraig Harrington, and 2 other lads at the golf yesterday. Harrington said afterwards that Keith Wood is the best player, Brian O'Driscoll is the best ball striker, and AP McCoy has the best handicap. You play a bit of golf, Kenny?
Of late, yeah, I'd kind
Nice little suntan there.
It's more than a suntan, sunburn, sunstroke, literally yesterday afternoon. No, I hadn't played for a couple of years, yeah, but the last couple of weeks I've had a couple of games in Dublin, thoroughly enjoyable.
What are you playing off? Like, are you 18?
Haven't been recording scores. Hasn't been great to watch, but there's been enough there to give me a little bit of encouragement.
Are you slowly getting addicted in a Keith Andrews style?
Yeah, it's easily done. I've been there before, hence me semi-retirement for 2 years. The game just drives me mad, but it's a great game. I love it.
What would you feel like on a tee box at Wentworth this week? There's a lot of pressure that comes with that.
No, I couldn't do it.
No?
Couldn't do it. I remember playing Ryder Cup at Wimbledon once, the pre-season down in Nigel Mansell had a place down the south coast of England. There was a big golf course. There was a training facility there. We went down. It was a long hour week. So we thought, right, a few games, a few bits and bobs. We'll have a Ryder Cup. So we split the squad up. England v the rest of the world. 2 non-playing captains, Carl Leaborn and Robbie Earl, rest of the world. So they're on the buggies, all night in their phones, running around the course. And the pressure on this game was unbelievable. No crowds, had a whole course to ourselves, but every putt mattered, and you could feel it. The heart was absolutely pounding, and this was really feeling the heat. Let alone these kind of pro-ams in terms of thousands of people. England, they've done us. Yeah, lads, some good players. Rest of the world, with a few of the Caribbean boys. Never.
Who was the best player on the course?
Golf club. I had a couple of reasonably low handicappers, 7-8. Brian McAllister, remember, Scottish lad, excellent player, excellent, yeah.
That was a good squad, wasn't it?
Golfers.
Robbie Earl was kind of underrated as a footballer.
Robbie's a fine player.
When fantasy football started, he was always like one of the best buyers because he would score loads of goals from the field.
Exactly. He was that classic third man run, that David Platt figure, not particularly a ball playing centre midfielder, but just will arrive length box. Great header, but he's only 5'9", 10.
Is he?
Yeah. He wasn't the biggest. Yeah,
I would have said he was like 6'3".
Exactly, jumped 6'3" like a salmon, and that one of the reasons why he's never particularly marked. 2 centre halves with some big forwards, and Rob would always, just ghost in there and get his fair share of goals. He declared for Jamaica, didn't he? The World Cup. That was a bit you know better than me. Yeah, it was delighted for me. Actually scored. I think he made history. Scored the first World Cup goal potentially as well. But yeah, great pro. Great pro. Enjoy playing with Robbie.
98
was it?
To Croatia.
Yeah, hopeless golfer though. Hopeless golfer.
Like, I was going to ask about this Nigel Mansell connection here, but I presume there was...
Well, the thing, another time, because Portsmouth were down there at the time, and I remember Alan McLaughlin was at Portsmouth. I remember walking into the hotel, checking in, looking at, a bit of golf here. Oh, great stuff, you got a bit of golf. Might be the worst trip in the world. I remember walking up the stairs and having a look. Alan McLaughlin came around the bend with John Dornan, one of their players. And John Dornan had his arm in a plaster Paris, was cut across the head. And Alan McLaughlin as well had a couple of cuts and bruises. And they'd had an accident in their golf cart the day previously. They'd gone over a hump, hit the bank on the opposite part of the hump, and got thrown out of the cart. And literally had to be rescued. They were there for about 3/4. John Dornan was there for 3/4 of an hour, couldn't move.
Jesus.
Had to be rescued, so...
He must have been flying.
Comes with the territory. It's a dangerous game, golf.
After that, golf was banned. I wanted to just briefly talk to you about the Villa Fulham game, because this is kicking off at 5 o'clock. It's the Championship playoff.
Yeah. On
Saturday. I would make Fulham favourites because they have slightly more form recently.
I wouldn't. I'd make Villa slight favourites. just because the styles of play, it's interesting. I draw maybe slight similarity between Real Madrid and Liverpool in terms of contrast and playing styles. Probably Fulham, Aston Villa even more so. Fulham, as you know, played a beautiful game. Nice and expansive, plenty of touches on the ball, like to work their way up the thirds, value possession of football. Aston Villa, from what I've seen, not overly bothered in terms of dominating the football. Let's get the back to front as quickly as possible. Defensively, very solid, can sit in and soak up pressure as well, and got good pace on the break. And I think in this type of game, when the pressure mounts, huge tension in these games. I've been in a couple during my career. That type of football, that expansive type of football, can be very difficult to play in those pressurised situations. For me, it's a team that plays the more kind of percentage game, doesn't take too many unnecessary risks in their half the pitch, goes back to front early. If you're going to make mistakes, let's make them 10 yards outside the opposition box rather than 10 yards outside there. So, yeah, Fulham turn up and play their game as they have done and play to their potential. Yeah, I would give them the edge, but that's very difficult to do in this type of environment because of what's at stake. So for me, Aston Villa's probably more methodical approach, and they're a hugely experienced team. Obviously, John Terry at the back, Jednak in the centre midfield as well, down the spine of the team, very experienced. Alan Hutton as well. For me, I'd actually give Aston Villa the edge.
Be slightly better from an Irish perspective to have Conor Horan and Scott Hogan playing in the Premier League next season as well.
Yeah, really actually love it. Conor Horan in particular for me, because a lot of talk, a lot of Ireland, we know where the goal's going to come. We haven't got number 9, but never ceases. I mean, it doesn't matter where the goals come from, really, doesn't it? When you're playing. And I look at our midfield, and Conor Horan's a great example. He's in double figures this year for Aston Villa. Doesn't get too much of a mention. An attacking midfield player who can score goals. So it'd be nice to see him make this step up, because he's proven it already. Done it at Barnsley. He's doing it now in a more pressurised environment at Aston Villa, albeit still in the Championship. So he's one for me. Hasn't quite got a run in the Ireland team as yet, does he? I'd really like to see him get a run of a couple of games, particularly if Martin's going to commit to a kind of a midfield 3 and maybe 2 attacking options in there. That type of lad who can get into the last third of the pitch and affect the game, assists and goals in particular, I think is worth having a look at over an extended period of time. We've got the opportunity to do with France and the USA coming up. Even those League of Nations games, for me, I know they're competitive games, but still an opportunity to look at these players up close and give them, and in a pressurised kind of a competitive environment, the likes of Conor Horan and 1 or 2 others, and see if they're ready to make that next step up as a regular in the Ireland team. Because you're right, we do need to find goals in the team. We don't necessarily doesn't have to be that goal scored in number 9. We've got to find this number 9. We're desperate for him. He can come from the flanks. James McLean's done it, or he can come from those central midfield areas as well. Those attacking midfielders, Horan, Jeff Hendricks, another one as well.
Yeah, that's where it will come from until we find another out-and-out striker, until there is another Robbie Keane. And Robbie Keane is a once-in-a-generation player, so it's probably unlikely to have one for a while. Back to the Champions League final. What's going to happen?
Have a look at the show last night. Me and Shay, Kev went into it in great depth. And I know you're sitting on the fence. I need to see the teams, and I need to see tactically how both teams are setting up. Madrid have leaned towards like a diamond in midfield, Joe, 2 up front at various stages this season, predominantly because to get Benzema and Ronaldo in the team, both want to play as central strikers, so you play them as a pair. The diamond behind that allows them to get the likes of Isco, Asensio, very clever operators, again, in a central area just in behind, and obviously got Kroos and Modric behind that. So that's an obvious way for them to go in terms to complement the players that they have. But that's so dangerous against Liverpool. You're opening yourself up down the sides of the pitch, where Liverpool are at their strongest. Salah, Mane, and they overlapping full-backs as well. So I think Madrid need to play Liverpool a huge amount of respect at the weekend, and they need to fill those wide areas. They need to play 5 in midfield, that same midfield 3, but they need to drop 2 players in off the flanks and play Ronaldo by himself down the front. Now you can argue Bale, Asensio, Vasquez, Isco down the flanks, but they've got to double up against Liverpool. They can't give Liverpool those wide areas to go and get those kind of combinations and get those overloads in wide areas, because I think Liverpool will kill them and will overrun them. So that's the key for me tactically. And Zidane, to me, I give him credit. I think he's very bright. I like the changes he makes in personnel and tactically during the big games. He doesn't panic. Even against Bayern Munich, when they actually started with a diamond second leg, he went to that blanket 5 midfield for the latter parts of the game, and actually I thought that's what actually won them the game. And I think they have to do that. As good as Madrid are, they can't be arrogant enough to think it doesn't matter. We play our game. We're good enough for any team. Do you know what? this Liverpool team is the exception because of the qualities which they have and how they can hurt you, particularly counter-attack. So Madrid need to recognise that and really fill those wide areas with two wide men.
What happens when they do that? Do Liverpool have the players to be able to really hurt them through the middle?
No, I don't think they have. I think they're a little bit short with no Oxlade-Chamberlain and no fully fit Adam Lallana. If Liverpool can't get down through down the sides and they come on the inside and they look to play through the middle like you were talking about, Henderson gets his head up and he's looking centrally and he's looking at James Milner and Wijnaldum and saying, can I pop the ball into your feet? Can you play with your back to goal under pressure? Little clever 1-2s around the corner, drop your shoulder and beat your man. No, Wijnaldum's like that third, arriving late into the box, third man run. Milner, we know what he is, as excellent as he is, that's not his game. So you're right, I think Liverpool are limited. If Madrid do sit a little bit deeper and say to Liverpool, where we're going to block up those wide areas, we're going to show you on the inside, what have you got in the middle? They haven't actually got an awful lot, Liverpool. I think that's one of the small weaknesses in their team without the likes of Lallana and even Oxlade-Chamberlain.
It's pretty
quite
big
dynamic.
Weakness. If you can't attack a team through the middle and hurt them through the middle,
of course they can. Look, Miller can get on the ball, he can play a forward pass, and of course Wijnaldum can, but it's not easy when it's congested. They got people snapping around your feet. You got your back to goal. I mean, Kroos can do it, Modric can certainly do it. That's where the advantage Madrid have in those central areas, but certainly out wide, that's where Liverpool have to play their football. Even if Madrid go with the 5 midfield, still get out to Salah and Alexander-Arnold and let them play 2v2 in those wide areas, because that's where the Madrid weakness is, down their left-hand side, Marcelo and Ramos.
Madrid are going to be the greatest team that we've seen since the Bayern Munich team in the 70s or the Ajax team in the 70s. Nobody since has done 3 in a row. Are they that good?
Oh, they're up there. Yeah, I think they are up there. It's not the team I don't look at the team that I have to say that and think, no weakness there.
Yeah.
I can't. Because there is. Because I look at that team and I think, I see Marcelo flying forward, not running back. I see Ramos being a little bit rash, getting done in behind, lack of pace on the recovery.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at that thinking that there's the weakness. I'm looking at Salah on that right-hand side, Trent Alexander, Firmino getting over that side of the pitch, thinking if Liverpool get enough ball here, they can really hurt them. Now, I'd contrast that to, I always go back to the AC Milan team in the 80s. I look at that team in and out possession of football.
No weakness.
I'm struggling.
Yeah.
I'm really struggling. That back four, Costa Curta, Baresi, Maldini, central field, Gullit, Van Basten up the pitch, Ancelotti, all those type of players. I'm struggling. Different generation, different time, but I'm really struggling. I can't see it. This Madrid team, those weaknesses have been there the last couple of years, and it's credit to Zidane and the players that have actually gone and won back-to-back Champions League despite those deficiencies. But they're such a possession-based team and dominant.
But we are talking about like one of the greatest teams ever in the history of world football. Like so obviously the first Madrid team comes and wins 5, 6 of the first 7. Is it? So teams have done 3. The Bayern team and the Ajax team did 3, right? Isn't that right?
Yeah, you could be right. I couldn't. Yeah.
I think in the 70s there's a 6-year period where there's 2, 3 in a row, and then there's that 2 in a row that AC Milan team did, and then nobody else has done it because you can't do 2 in a row in the Champions League era. Is the thought of it? The other team are too strong.
But then another indicators, Jerry. You look at their league form this year. I mean, last time I looked 16 points behind Barcelona. That doesn't quite equate. This is the best team we've ever seen. Yet they're going to finish 16 points in 3rd place behind Atletico Madrid.
In a way, though,
domestic competition.
In a way, that almost makes the achievement better. It's like they're going to win, if they win this, 3 Champions Leagues while Barcelona have Leo Messi in their team. Like, that's an amazing thing to happen.
No, it is. Yeah, it is. And it's such an experienced team. When the big games come along, they just don't panic. The game management is absolutely fantastic. They understand what's required at any given moment during the course of the game. They can almost control the rhythm of the game. Modric and Kroos in particular in that central area of the pitch. They can go after, they can hunt, they don't press. They certainly don't press as well as Liverpool haven't done for the last couple of years. They're a little bit more immobile now, not as much energy in that Madrid team. It's changed. You've got some young players coming through, will come through over the next couple of years, but they don't press you as much as certainly as that Barcelona team were there with the height under Guardiola. So you can actually get ball. Teams have had good possession of the ball against this Madrid team over the past couple of years. And yes, they've been dominant, but there have been times the last couple of years. I remember the Napoli game last year, Bayern Munich last year and this year could easily have turned them over there. Fine margins in terms of whether Madrid could have gone out or stayed in, but they did stay in, and it's not coincidence because they don't panic. Manager makes the right substitutions at the right time, and big players step up when it really matters, Ronaldo in particular.
If we told you back before Christmas during that Spurs game that this Real Madrid team was going to make the Champions League final and potentially win it, like, would you have laughed at me? Like, or was it a situation where it was early in the season and it was like Spurs exposed a few timely weaknesses? Yeah,
you're right. I certainly wouldn't have laughed at you. And invariably, it's the Champions League. It's about building momentum and hitting form at the right time. And how many times we've seen the team not struggle necessarily in the group stages, but not really peak, but generally going into the second half of the season, all of a sudden they find that little bit of form, whether it's kind of a physical thing or just like a mental application, just that focus sets in. Right, here we go, business end of the season, and they seem to be capable of doing that, just switching that on button when it really matters in the latter stages and turning up.
Yeah, Kenny, we talk football and everybody wants us to talk about food instead. All the comments that we've had this morning have been, and then sorry, just to explain.
It's a good sign. I've had a funny enough flip argument about somebody who was talking about somebody's dress sense in terms of people. No, I'm just talking generally speaking, and just made a general point that somebody can be talking about your dress sense live on air. You've got a problem. And I could well make the comparison now in terms of the food conversation. Well, I don't generally think it's a good thing.
So Darren found the definition. This story, the Spice Burger, the Humble Spice Burger, this is from the Irish Times in 2009. The Humble Spice Burger, one of Ireland's few original contributions to world cuisine, has been saved. After an extraordinary outpouring of support for Walsh Family Foods, the sole manufacturers of the product, it started making Spice Burgers again yesterday, a fortnight after they closed with the loss of 50 jobs. It patented the recipe, which it describes as a delicious blend of Irish beef. I would have said it was vegetarian, but no, there's beef in it. Oh, no,
definitely beef in it. Oh, definitely beef in it.
Beef, onions, cereals, herbs and spices with a traditional outer crumb. How does that sound, Eoin?
You could serve that up anywhere.
That sounds good.
West End of London Michelin star restaurants, people would be buying that.
That sounds absolutely
What's wrong with
disgusting.
Stick that back
good
up,
quality beef, good quality beef and onions. What are you talking about?
Spicy white pudding.
White pudding. I had a bit of white pudding yesterday, black and white pudding.
Pudding in your...
Why not? Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you put white pudding in there? Spice. That little bit of a kick.
What's with the cereals and soya protein? Like, I don't eat my burgers for soya.
I thought that'd be right up your street. A bit of soya protein in there.
What's that supposed to mean?
Bloody, I thought that went on over, Jade. Would you?
Yeah.
Oh, there. That sounds nice even.
So
are you saying, Jared, they're actually producing Spice? I once it looked as if they'd closed down.
They had closed, yeah.
They had closed.
There was an outpouring of national grief, which obviously passed Eoin by.
Listen, we'll have Spice Burgers.
Spice Burgers are going to make a big cut. If they're not serving that Spice Burgers when the next year down in Marco, Pierre Wise, where is he? Down Dorset or somewhere like that. I've walked past. Not one of them. The old Oliver Twist. Oliver Twist were never in there looking through the window when they one day I'll make it. Within the year, I'll be amazed. I'll be disappointed not serving Spice Burgers in there.
Next time you're in, we'll review Spice Burgers.
Lads, toffee crisps or dime bars? Andy Dunleavy wants to know.
Oh, toffee crisps.
Yeah, all day long.
Easily,
Toffee crisp or a lime bar? Splitting hairs now, aren't you?
Yeah, probably a lime bar. Yeah,
I'll go with that.
Yeah, okay. Jonathan Kennedy on Facebook says, Kenny, do you remember the full onion ring from Chippers? Not those crap ones, pardon me, that actually have a ring in the middle, all the rings in one batter.
Now you're talking.
How they rate?
Airport takeaway, Whitehall, on your way out of Dublin back home to Kew. Yeah, you know it? Exactly what that lad's talking about. And I do remember getting a couple of the Irish lads in early for one Ireland game get-together. They got an early flight in, so I could pick them up at the airport, drive them down to the airport takeaway in Whitehall and get them one of these onion rings.
That's
knock out the middle, keep it intact, fry it up. It's literally like a car tour, holding a car tour.
And do they still do it? Because I've been in there quite a number of times. And I've never got onion rings.
Is that your nearest chipper?
I might do a Spice Burger combo.
It's my second nearest chipper, yeah.
Spice Burger and full onion ring combo.
Grand. We'll review it.
You can get third-degree bites from one bite, or third-degree burns from one bite, says Jonathan Kennedy.
That's a Spice Burger.
Yeah. Apparently you can get a Spice Burger in batter in Whirly Burger.
No,
I'm
going to stop you there. That's up there with the chocolate Kimberley, no chance. And I'll tell you when I lug in with that as well, absolute disgrace, trying to be too clever for your own good. In Birmingham once when I lived up there, going into a restaurant, ordering prawns in batter, right? So the prawns came, batter and bit into it. So what had they done? They hadn't taken the shell
Oh no!
prawns, put it in batter and served it up. Can you believe it?
That's
True
disgusting.
choice. That's been too clever.
That
Did
is.
you take me point down?
I know that must.
Yeah,
be,
I'm not sure it's
Did
too
you take,
clever
did you take me point?
or a complete absence of cleverness, I would say.
That's an oversight. That can't be on purpose.
Telling you, fact.
That's-
Ridiculous.
That's the most disgusting thing I've ever heard.
Chocolate Kimberley, that's all I'm saying. No need for it.
So say the teams are as expected, right? To finish on football for today. Say the teams are as expected. You expect Real Madrid to win, but if Liverpool win, it'll be because of a mistake.
I give Madrid the edge. If they we know that if they go with that midfield five, we know the midfield three: Casemiro, Cruz, and Modric. But if they were to throw Bale and Asensio on the sides and Ronaldo up front, for me, that kind of shape with the quality they have, the personnel, I give.
Is he going to pick Bale? I don't. He doesn't.
Yeah, he's been playing well the last couple of weeks. See his goal at the Nou Camp a few weeks ago. He looks sharp again. Just looks as if he's got his mojo back a little bit. Even if you played the two up front, Zidane, for me, I'd lean towards Bale ahead of Benzema alongside Ronaldo.
There'd been some suggestion that Bale might have been past it, that his particular athleticism and the fact that his game is so dependent on that athleticism, that the injuries had taken a toll and he wasn't going to get back to where he was. If he is back to where he was, then surely, and it looks like he's getting divorced from Real Madrid, surely this is the point where an English team, i.e. Real Madrid or Manchester United, step in and go, okay, we'll take him and try and offload Pogba and Sanchez to PSG or whoever, and recast their entire team around having somebody like him in this.
Yeah, I take your point, but Manchester United seem to be obsessed. I mean, how many more left wingers are linked with Neymar? If there's one area of the pitch Manchester United do not need to strengthen, it's left side of midfield, high up the pitch. I mean, Rashford and Martial, two outstanding young talents in world football, can't get enough game time there at the moment. For me, it's been a big mistake bringing Sanchez. There was no need to bring Sanchez. That was just a pure PR move.
Yeah, flip him now.
Manchester
Flip him now,
United.
take the money out of it, and away you go. And everybody goes, okay, that's fair enough. It was 5 months, no big deal.
Oh, absolutely. I'd get him out the door. I wouldn't make the Bale argument for pretty much the same reason, unless we're thinking maybe integrating Bale into the team and maybe in a number 10 position. In those wide, I think Manchester United have enough in those wide areas with the players. I think it'd be a big mistake to let Martial go.
Jose doesn't though, right? That's the main thing here. He doesn't really seem to rate Martial or Rashford enough.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think it's a big mistake. And like I said, the Neymar thing's been linked. It's all about Pogba. For me, is everything at Manchester United. He's got to make the decision. He's got to build that team around Pogba next year. He's spoken about it before. Plays preferred formation, that three in midfield, that kind of V shape which Madrid do, and he's got to get someone of real quality to play alongside him in those advanced midfield areas. Sanchez is no good playing that system because Sanchez drifts in off the left hand side and stands on Pogba's toes in those advanced midfield positions, those inside gullies on the inside. You need a winger who's going to stretch teams wide on the outside, is going to open up those channels on the inside for Pogba to go and play, and with the abilities that he has. So that's the big decision Maria's going to make in terms of Pogba. If he's still unsure, he's going to go to a midfield too. Get Pogba out. If you're not going to play him his best position, get him out. You'll get your money back and go after Griezmann. Go spend your money on Griezmann as probably one of the best number 10s just off the front there are in world football, and look at a midfield, an orthodox midfield too, and one of them can't be Pogba. So he's got to decide really how he wants to play going forward. And for me, Neymar, even the discussion about Bale, Sanchez was never the answer for me either. It's more fundamental. The problems are on the inside, that central midfield, advanced midfield axis in there. He's got to get that right, and the rest will take care of itself.
Do they have players that you would keep in the midfield area who
Yeah, I would. Herrera for me has always been a good squad player, but that's it. I've always said it. I've got a problem if Herrera's playing getting a lot of game time at Manchester United. For me, if you're going to play the three and they keep Pogba, you play him in advanced there. You play Matic sitting, and you play two in front. Pogba off the left, and one other. I've had a look. I think Lingard can play there. He's played there for England. Southgate's played him there. Lingard played there with Oxlade-Chamberlain with Henderson in behind. You'll remember. I think he's got options there. McTominay looks as if he's developing probably more into more of a holding player. United's best, when they looked their most solid last year, was at Liverpool at home, second half of the season. Matic played with McTominay as a pair in central midfield. They're absolutely rock solid. Never went ahead of the ball. Sat in there, good defensive shape, screened, mobile, both of them, comfortable on the ball. Not a great range of passing, but kept it simple. So that's the template. If you're going to go that way, get Pogba out of the club, play that midfield at two, and get Griezmann in. Get a top-class number 10 to play behind Lukaku. Griezmann or Eoin. I know Lingard's played there and done okay. Mata can play there. But that if not, go what we've been talking about already. Go and get someone to play with Pogba in those kind of advanced, those number 8 areas, the advanced midfield positions. It's one or the other for me. He's dipping his toe between one or the other all season for him, Marino. It's been so frustrating to watch.
And that's weird, like, because obviously he knows those problems are those problems, and he knows those personnel are the issue, and yet he hasn't decided what his preferred style of play is.
I don't think he had, but he hasn't got the players to play the 3 at the moment. I'd argue for Lingard and McTominay, but I was arguing Oxlade-Chamberlain say to start the season for Manchester United. I could have seen Oxlade-Chamberlain play with Pogba in front of Matic. I thought Oxlade-Chamberlain was a good boy. Obviously would have got ridiculed at the time. I wasn't even playing in the Arsenal team. But I think the progression he's made at Liverpool and that central area, that advanced midfield role, people probably look at Oxlade-Chamberlain and Manchester United probably think, do you know what, that kind of dynamism, that pace operating in there, yeah, I could see that. So someone of that ilk, but it's got to be one or the other. He's got to make the decision and make it now, and once he does, he's got players in and out to accommodate that particular system, whose individual strengths, you're talking about Carberry, suits that particular system. And Marino's played them both. Chelsea, the 3 in midfield, Lampard, Ballack, Makelele. At Real Madrid, he had reasonable success, but always playing as a 10 and an orthodox 2 behind. So he's had success playing both. Just make your mind up and stick with one or the other. That's what Manchester City are doing. They don't change. They have their system of play.
Yeah.
They've got their patterns of play locked down. Off they go. United need to do the same. I'm not quite sure what I'm seeing in terms of their identity the last 2 years under Mourinho. That's very unusual for a Jose Mourinho team.
Yeah, not fixable unless he gets the right personnel this year. They'll continue to do exactly the same. They'll have the same issues unless he decides one way or the other.
Yeah, I think so. And it's all about Pogba, isn't it? It's all about Pogba. This kind of the way he's handling PR, humiliating him, slapping him down, this kind of man management stuff, for me, it's totally the wrong approach. It's been the wrong approach for a number of the other players. He's called out Lukaku the weekend, and basically, Tommy couldn't play.
Yeah.
He's hung out as centre forward, like his top scorer, like, you know.
The implication was that he was keeping himself for the World Cup. And
yeah, absolutely. But I mean, that's absolutely shoving him under a bus.
Yeah.
He could have easily come out and said he's not quite ready, so but he wants to be part of it, so I'm going to put him on the bench. Could have protected his player, because this lad's going to be the future, you would think, over the next couple of years. Yeah. So for Manchester United players to hear that, the Lukaku was prioritised, and they hear the manager say it.
Unless you're getting rid of him after the summer and the World Cup, but then you want to talk him up anyway. So.
I'd be surprised.
I would too, it wouldn't make any sense.
He's his number 9. He's that physical presence that he has. I think he likes him, but it's the players around him that he still hasn't got right. But I think he's got a lot more at the football club than he thinks, particularly in terms of Rashford and Martial. But I take your point. It looks as if at least Martial's going to be out the door, and he could come back. Another one could come back and haunt Marino.
Speaking of throwing people under the bus, there's one last thing we wanted to chat to you before we let you go about, and it's about this. It's actually a GEA story that's doing kind of the rounds at the moment in terms of the narrative of the early summer, and it's to do with punditry. It's to do with Sean Kavanagh, the former Tyrone footballer, who's been fairly brave in terms of calling out his former manager Mickey Hart in terms of the style of play, in terms of the questions that the management team needs to answer. And I'm just wondering about that kind of whole idea of being a pundit in your early days, of going from a professional to a pundit and calling out your former teammates, basically, not your former teammates, but the former people you've had so much success with under, from a management perspective. His brother still plays for Tyrone, and it's not as if he's been kind of daggers out for his brother or anything like that, but certainly somebody he's been very close to in Mickey Hart. He's had no problem with it, and it's got a lot of commentary this week.
So he's got no attachment there. He's not playing his football still.
He only retired last year. This is his first year as a pundit. It's not easy
making that transition, because invariably you feel you're still leaning towards the dressing room, even though you put some distance between yourself and your retired. Your national emotions obviously pull you in that direction. But you've got to be, as long as it's genuine, it's coming from the right place, and it's an honest appraisal of how he sees things. I think it's as well honest how you kind of project it, how you put it across as well. I think it's important. It's a factor. You know, some people can be a little bit too crude in terms of their delivery, and those words can sting. Like we all know that, and athletes, generally speaking, can be quite sensitive. So as long as it's an honest opinion, and he thinks it's fair, yeah, why not? He's got a perspective. He's been around the squad. Some people may not want to hear it, but no, if it's fair comment, I've no problem with it. But I think how you deliver it, I think it does matter.
But so no one takes criticism well. We're not a race of people who are like, oh, it's a fair point. I could be working a little bit harder, and maybe I haven't put it in fully this year.
No, I think it's right, and I think certainly professionals I worked high percentage of managers. Managers now, the interviews now after the game, journalist interviews tiptoeing around, absolutely frightened to death to ask any type of discussion, or any type of perceived criticism of the manager or style of play, or that type of thing. That's ridiculous. Like, you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. As long as you're up front, ask the question. You shouldn't have any regrets. As long as it's fair, as long as the question's fair. You'd know better than me in terms of some of the comments attributed to the player. But if it's fair discussion, I don't think you should have a problem with it. And I've not a lot of time for kind of managing players who get too icked, too hypersensitive, move on, like, you know what I mean?
It's not so much the management team, it's other pundits from the same county that are a little bit unhappy with it, maybe, or...
But what, unhappy with what? What they don't... It's one thing not agreeing with the criticism and having a discussion about it, but the fact he's actually criticised it, it's just the fact he's actually levelled some criticism at the county.
I think he's well within his rights, and he's correct in pretty much all in what he's saying.
No, it's up then to the management. They don't agree to stand up and make their case. That's what it's all about, having a bit of discussion and throwing it out there. And
would you guys have been watching the TV coverage I think I'm right in saying that there were TVs in the dressing room in Lansdowne Road for Ireland games, were there?
No.
So you wouldn't have seen it?
We look at the guy, hot shower in the dressing room, let alone bloody plasma TV on the wall.
Right, because there is now, there definitely, it wouldn't be switched on, you wouldn't have been watching it
wouldn't have been a good idea for the reasons that I've said, because some people, everybody's different. Like, some people laugh it off, just, skin of a rhino or whatever, no effect whatsoever. Others, you wouldn't want to be hitting too much maybe prior to the game or kind of even after, like, you know what I mean? As a general rule, you'd want to be away from it. That's why those post-match interviews invariably can get a little bit, hitting, particularly for managers, like, you know what I mean? So generally it's not a good thing, but I've never really understood it. I never had a problem with it, particularly when I got a bit older, a bit more experienced as a player. I had no problem really with kind of too much criticism. In fact, I used to go hunting it out. Right, I was never really interested. I thought you had a great, whatever. I'll be more interested if somebody sit me down and say, you had a decent game, but that could have been better. What do you think of that ball over the top? You think you're starting? And by the way, that wasn't a great decision you made. 5 minutes. That's as my career went on. That's the kind of discussions I wanted to have with people in terms of, well, that wasn't good enough. That needs to be better, rather than you were fantastic. That was no good to me. Like, you know what I mean? So that's the kind of mentality really you need to have. And that's just players. That's coaches, managers. Where you become so cocooned, I think, in that type of environment. Sometimes, in honest opinion, from outside, and maybe shake things up a little bit, can maybe make you take a little different kind of perspective and have a little different look at things from a different angle. No bad thing, I don't think. That's alluding to your comment there. For you just to analyse someone else has said, and as long as it's coming from the right place, because there are people out there, I'm going to make a name for myself here, a big headline, it's all about me type thing. I think that's different. Yeah, no, it totally is, and that wouldn't be the case, I don't think, in the Sean Kavanagh situation. Kenny, great stuff. Thanks very much for joining us this morning. Cheers, lads.
A reminder that OTB AM is brought to you this morning with Air, the home of Air Sport. Get amazing live sporting content free with Air Broadband. Now, Nathan Murphy's going to join us in studio next to go through our Gaelic Football Championship preview. We're going through the 22 spicy questions of the summer. Nothing to do with spice bags or spice burgers, although spice burgers might be spicier than our spicy 22 questions. First, here's a story from our Heineken Rugby Club Roadshow in Bruff, County Limerick last night. Fiona Steed, John Hayes and Eddie O'Sullivan were alongside Joe. Eddie O'Sullivan here on John Hayes driving him mad.
And there was about maybe 4 or 5 guys who were always first on the team sheet, but he was always one of them. Like, that was always the first guy down, because he was our tight head. And it used to actually bother me that he got such a kicking from certain precincts about being a tight head and he was useless, and just to drive me insane. And I got in trouble over it eventually, because I went to war on that footing and it wasn't appreciated. But like, I had a very interesting conversation with one of probably the great props of our history, is Ray McLaughlin, who played for Ireland and the Lions. And Ray was a loose head actually, and he was a fantastic technician. But around the time John became a prop at the top end of the game, the scrum changed dramatically. There was a time when loosehead was the toughest position to play, because the tight head got away with everything. They got to bore down, they got to drive across, they got to pin the loosehead. And then they decided, for safety reasons, to get the scrum up higher. They made the tight head bind way up over the top. Remember that, Sean? Yeah. And for like someone to bind up over the top of a loose head, it opens up your right shoulder and your chest to the loose head, who can drive up. They can really take it to town, and you'd no leverage. And Ray McLaughlin used to say to me, like, he used to give out as well about the kicking John was getting in certain quarters, about his scrummaging. And Ray said to me, like, he was amazed that someone of John's physique and size could scrummage it tight head, given the job he used to do by reaching up over the loose head. It took an immense amount of strength and kind of toughness to play that position, because when the scrum changed, all the pressure came onto the tight head. It used to be on the loose head, but when they made the tight heads reach up over the loose head, everything changed, and all the pressure comes through the tight head. And now when you see a scrum wheeling, it's always up on the loose head side, because the loose heads get all the advantages. But he had that transition to make. He had his size was against him in many ways, because a lot of tight heads before John would have been smaller and more compact because they could bear down on the loose head. So I always immense respect for him, and went to war and a few times on his behalf with certain people, which wasn't appreciated, but I always felt he got a fairly bad shake from certain people on that department. But the best answer was he must have been doing something right. He got 115 caps, so take it, leave it at that.
Yeah, absolutely. Got the Leinster as well, and
All right, you're welcome back to our GAA Championship preview. Oh wait, it's not a preview because we're 2 or 3 weeks deep into the GAA Football Championship. We were supposed to do this a few weeks ago. 23 of the spiciest questions ahead of the summer's football.
Well, they were spicy until we toned them down.
Yeah, well, they've been toned down to kind of a mild at this point. Are you spicy guys?
Oh yeah.
I was spicier 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, well, at least I can still see there's a bit of spiciness in the room. Some spicy takes is what we're looking for. I'll be giving some takes as well after I hear what you've got to say. And we've got 23 questions, basically.
Wow.
Are you ready?
I'm going to be here all day.
He's got gout. He's not that spicy anymore.
I apologise on behalf of everybody associated with you. Let's get straight into these. It's going to be 23 questions. It's fairly self-explanatory. You'll be able to figure it out after the first one immediately. And the first one is the big question of this year's Football Championship. Can anybody stop Dublin?
Can they? Yes. I think Mayo or Kerry are well
Will
capable.
anybody stop Dublin is the question.
No, I don't think anyone will stop Dublin. I think Dublin are going to somehow get the job done once again.
I don't know. So the only thing here, the only doubt, the two doubts are nobody's any good at the moment. None of the rest of the teams are any good. They don't have, like Mayo don't have all their best players. And what is the truth about Kerry? We don't really know. There's a potential for Kerry to be really good, but after that, who else has the skill set? That's the biggest unknown. On the other side of that is it's a Dublin team who are shorn of some very key talent. You think that they didn't need Connolly last year until they absolutely needed him, and then they really needed him in that last 35 minutes. So it's hard to know if the improvement you're going to get from Mannion, from O'Callaghan, from Fenton this year is going to be enough to make up for the absence of that. That is the one thing that we'll all be watching all summer. But it won't matter until they get to the Super 8s, so because they won't get tested.
There is an opportunity, because when you actually do look back on last year's All-Ireland final, I do think 1 to 15 Mayo were the equal, if not slightly better than Dublin. But Mayo haven't got any better over the last year. There is an opportunity, but it just doesn't look as though the chasing pack.
I think Dublin choked a little bit last year in that they didn't play to their full potential and they got out of jail. And I don't think that's going to happen this year. I think that the 3 in a row is a big deal for them in a way that the 4 in a row is kind of a staging post on the way to 5. I think they talked themselves into it. I think that not having Connolly at the start rattled them. And I think a bunch of stuff happened. Like, it didn't seem like they picked their best team. This year, I think they're going to be... They have the... So
is there not a weight of expectation around 4 in a row?
Well,
so
the thing is, we're going to be getting back to this a little bit later on. Question number 14, I'm not going to give away any spoilers. We'll be dealing with this exact topic that you were just about to approach there. That wasn't very spicy. Let's move straight on to number 2, which is to do with Mayo. Mayo, will they make it all the way to the All-Ireland final and fall just short once again? Do tweet us, by the way. Use the hashtag OTBAM.
I think they've every chance of reaching an All-Ireland final. I do think this year is very different to previous years because of the Super 8s. So it all depends on how the qualifiers go, what sort of draw you end up with. Suddenly, if they end up in a draw with Dublin and Monaghan and you have to go to Clones, it's a very different route through. So you might have to go to Croke Park to play Dublin and Clones to play Monaghan. It could become very difficult. But I think if the draw is in their favour, most definitely. And I do think they would get over the line this time.
Mayo are losing an All-Ireland semi-final this year. Absolute guarantee. I've just chalked it down right there. They're going to lose in the All-Ireland semi-final this year.
Who's going to beat them?
It's either going to be Kerry or Dublin. Kerry for revenge, Dublin because they're better than them. Simple as that. Book closed. Game over. Mayo may as well just accept that already.
Don't know if Kerry are going to beat them yet. Have to just see a little bit about this Kerry team. Look, nobody knows anything until the Super 8s actually filter out. There's a good chance they don't make the Super 8s if they get a bad draw because of what happened last year when they didn't play well in the qualifiers and they still don't have any players fit.
Well, that's the biggest issue when you're discussing Mayo. If you bring back a fully fit Chris Barrett, Brendan Harrison, Lee Keegan, Killian O'Connor, it's a totally different side to what we saw against Galway.
Is it the second best side in the country?
Probably.
I mean, yeah, obviously.
Right, okay. I disagree. But will they be the flop of the summer? I think they would be one of the flops of the summer were they not to reach the Super 8. I think there's no question about that. And that is our question number 3. Who will be the flop of the summer? I'm not sure if either of you are thinking Mayo, because as you say, it depends on how these qualifiers go.
I think the loser of Tip and Cork, I think that's a long way back for whoever loses that game, because expectations are high. The Tipperary are going to be a shoe-in effectively for the Super 8s, and they will be brilliant in the Super 8. It will be amazing to see them there. They are clearly going to enjoy Croke Park. A game in Thurles will be perfect for them, and I don't think they'll fear anybody else heading away there. So I really hope they actually get over Cork, just to finally turn Munster into a province that we can tune into more than one game a season and go, oh, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'm with you on Tip. I think Tip are going to be the flop of the summer. I hope they aren't.
I'm saying they're not. I'm saying the losers of that game are.
Okay, I think Tip are going to lose that game, and I think they will be the flop of the summer. I think the 7-day turnaround is going to be a huge problem for them to get over, and I think Cork are back with a small, not overly better than last year, but that was a tight game last year. I mean, they can beat Tipperary. I think they will beat Tipperary. I think Tipperary go into the qualifiers, which is a snake pit this year, and they will lose in the qualifiers and will miss Tip in the Super 8s, despite the fact that they will be well able to hold their own.
It's not a snake pit. The qualifiers are full of crap teams.
It depends what your expectation levels are.
Better teams than Tip.
Who?
Tyrone and Mayo.
That's 2.
Cavan,
not better than.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
We'll see.
Why didn't Tip get promoted from Division 2 then?
Well, league is league, championship.
I know it is.
Let's wait and see.
I can.
Cavan's got annihilated by Donegal. Annihilated. Not even in the game.
So what? I mean, would Tip have got annihilated by this Donegal team?
I think
they might have suffered a fairly similar fate
on Saturday night, because again, Tip may well have thought, let's just stay steady in Division 2 and concentrate a little bit more and see can we push our way through to the Super 8s.
Who's your flop of the summer?
Well, if Mayo were to lose to anybody except Tyrone in the qualifiers, even if they
lose to Tyrone, they've got to beat Tyrone at this point. Come on, you're the second best team in the country. You've got to.
What I'm saying is that's how I think they will be the flop of the summer. I think if Galway don't get to an All-Ireland semi-final at this stage, it could end up being seen as something of a flop.
What did he say about second best team in the country there?
He said Mayo.
Oh, sorry. So anybody other than Tyrone or Mayo, and you think Tipperary are going to sail through the qualifiers?
No. Okay, so I'll rewind that. He says if anybody other than Tyrone beats Mayo,
Mayo sorry. Right, okay. It's important to keep up with this discussion.
It's strange.
When you're the host.
Flop of the summer is difficult because it's too early. Expectation on a few teams, and there's no expectation.
Armagh are already the flop of the summer.
I would have said Armagh 3 weeks ago. I just couldn't see them going anywhere.
We'll move on to the opposite of that. Which team is going to be the fairy tale of the summer? Multiple options here. I guess, can we say Fermanagh now? Because we were kind of cheating by using hindsight.
Well, no.
And also it's Armagh that they beat.
One swallow does not a summer make. It's possible that Armagh reached the Super 8 and that'd be an amazing achievement for them.
Why is that possible?
Why is it possible?
They were a disgrace.
They were, but
against Fermanagh.
So if you look at his record, he gets to quarterfinals with teams that aren't very good after they go out early in provincial championships over the course of 10 years. That's what Geezer's teams have done. I don't know what the hell they have the problem with the first round of championship with. I don't know, if they train too hard for that, thinking, no, we need to get through this, or I don't know what it is.
Or maybe they're just not very good this year, that they could only kick 7 points.
Look, there's a good chance they're the flop of the summer. There is.
Talk fairy tales.
Fairy tales. New York. I think I can see New York running Leitrim very close. Into extra time even, maybe.
Is that already the fairy tale of the summer?
Tipperary getting a big win in the Super 8s, I think would be something of a fairy tale. Maybe going into a final game of Super 8s with a chance of reaching an All-Ireland semi-final.
Could Tip beat Kerry?
They'll have it at home if they beat Cork this weekend. It'll be in Thurles. A lot of people are writing this Kerry team off. Not this team off, but this 2018 version of this team off. It will be a huge
Monaghan
upset.
as the fairy tale of the summer, reaching an All-Ireland final.
Or Donegal. I think this Donegal team are coming forth. I think that Michael Murphy's fit, and I think I think a lot of people didn't think he was going to get fit again, but I thought that he looked pretty good for somebody who hadn't played a lot of ball.
We can hear a clock ticking in our ear. We've been told to hurry up. My fairy tale of the summer is going to be Roscommon for a potential All-Ireland semi-final. Let's not write off the possibility that they'll beat Galway to win Connacht again this year. Question number 5 is, who's your Super 8 wildcard? Maybe a one-word answer here, because we've kind of covered a lot of this section of the championship just there.
Kildare.
I mean, that would be amazing, but not a hope, I don't think. By wildcard, are Tip a wildcard, given that they were as far on as they were last year? Are Monaghan and Donegal wildcards? They're not really, are they? So you're talking about
Kildare, I think, is a suitable one. That's the one that came to the top of my head.
Yeah, I would have Donegal, Tip, Monaghan all reaching the Super 8s, and then there's one other space, depending on how the qualifiers go. I'm not having both Mayo and Tyrone in there.
Right.
I think Down could be one to watch out for if they get a handy draw, because they've got Antrim in the Ulster quarter-final. Obviously, we'll get to the Ulster semi-final where they'll lose to Donegal, win 2 games into a Super 8.
A lot of people in Down are tipping Antrim.
They are, yeah. I just listened to the Saturday panel last Saturday, Eoin.
Yeah.
Danny Hughes was like, I think this is... I mean, it might just have been cute tourism out of Down. But he was also pretty depressed about the state of Down football, so...
Who are you calling?
Kildare.
Cork,
right, okay. Top scoring forward this summer, who's it going to be? It was Dean Rock last year. We haven't really narrowed this down into from play or from frees included. I guess let's just go for the overall top scorer here.
Paul Mannion.
Dean Rock, hits frees.
Okay, from play.
Paul Mannion from play. Again, because of the Super 8, like, Paul Mannion could have scored 4-16 by the end of the Leinster Championship. By the end of Sunday.
Does Conor Callan kick points?
Well, he only scores goals, really, doesn't he? But that would contribute to him massively in terms of being the top scoring forward this year. Let's go for from play. Conor Callan's a good shout. Mannion's a good shout.
Paul Gainey?
Gainey was who I was going to say because of the potential of an easier Super 8 group for Kerry, and that's where the difference lies here. Obviously, the Leinster Championship hugely favours Dublin when it comes to high-scoring forwards.
A definite pattern emerging here. And I'm trying to rein my male bias in as much as possible.
He suggested him.
Yeah, just to get it out before you did.
Well, I think he's good.
Off you.
I do think Dean Rock will be top scoring forward if you include frees. I think Mannion's a fine shout when it comes to from play. So is Paddy McBrearty. So I would have Paddy McBrearty probably above Gainey.
Slow enough start last week.
He did. He only kicked 4 points. But
Conor McManus?
It's a good shout. A bit like
no, I'm sticking with Paul Mannion.
Paul Mannion, you're going Conor Callaghan. I'm going Paul Gainey. We'll see what happens come the end of the season, and we're going for from play from that particular one. From top scoring forward to best young footballer of the year, who's it going to be this year? Conor Callaghan is ineligible.
Is he? You just made a rule up.
If Conor Callaghan
how can he be ineligible when Diarmuid O'Connor was winning when he was 40?
There was only 1 year between them, and Diarmuid wasn't eligible last year as far as I'm aware, and Conor Callaghan is that age now. So I think 1997 is the cut-off point this year.
You're going to go for David Clifford, are you?
No, I'm going to go for Sean O'Shea, actually, his teammate.
I'll go for Clifford then.
I was going to go maybe someone like Jamie Brennan from Donegal if they'd a good run, get to the Super 8s, get to an All-Ireland semi-final.
I like the way we've got a list of contenders up there to, focus the minds.
Yeah, well, we don't really. It seems to be...
Owen's still struggling with who's actually eligible.
Clifford Brennan...
Do an FAI-style deal where they realise there's not enough young players and have to do it under 25.
Cyrus Christie is your young footballer of the year this year in GAA. So, why Clifford? I mean, other than the obvious...
Well, he did quite well at minor level, I hear.
I heard he's an up-and-comer.
There's a bit of hype about him,
What have you seen that makes you think that he's going to...
I see you excited on a Monday morning after you've been to a league game in the depths of winter.
That's supposed to be secret.
And you're like, face beaming. And you can't help yourself.
Sure, league is league, championship is championship.
I know, but there was just a few shimmies where, he went out and got that one ball that you were like, oh! And the knowledgeable Kerry crowd were like, that's it, he's made it now.
Does David Clifford, because of the level of expectation, does he need to have an exceptional year to be Young Player of the Year, or actually, does he just need to be fine? And
no, I think that his teammates or other players will get like that. Well, Clifford was a disappointment. He only scored 227 in 5 games.
Well, I've got a clock ticking in my ear, so we're going to have to wrap up the David Clifford talk, but that sounds like consensus to me. The next one is, what county will have the most players on planes to America?
Mayo.
Laois.
Mayo people never leave. They hang around for the heartache.
What about Offaly?
What's if they're out of the championship?
No, they still hang around. There's money to be made. All those lads have been around the block. There's going to be a lot of media gigs going for the first team out of the championship.
It's true. Me. I'm sure they all work in Dublin as well. They all have good jobs.
Exactly. Well-educated bunch.
It's going to be Offaly after this thing eventually ends. I mean, it's like a matter of just clear your head for a while. It's been a
if
traumatic...
Offaly win 2 games, they're the fairy tale of the summer, right?
Yes.
That's like if they pull a Carlo and win and put in. So maybe I'm going to go back and answer that question retrospectively.
So if Offaly were to go and beat Armagh, the qualifiers, suddenly...
Well, that would be like a massive outpouring.
No, none of them would believe in it. Paul Rouse is going to have them all on scholarships in UCD for next year, so they're all hanging around.
It's a pretty smart move to do that. We'll move quickly on to question number 9. We've already seen a media ban implemented temporarily in the hurling world, but what's going to be the first media ban in the world of football this year? What are you thinking?
Dublin.
Dublin,
100%.
Is Armagh a potential shout here?
Armagh are in one, are they? Are they already on just a continuous one?
No, Geezer spoke to RT after the game, on Sunday game at the weekend. I'm sure he talked to News Talk as well. I don't know, I didn't...
Tyrone?
Tyrone's a good shout. Like I've talked about a full media ban.
Like, yeah.
So not just RTE, they won't talk to us even.
Yeah, exactly. Just radio silence, siege mentality, like they did in Armagh a few years ago. I can see a repeat of that.
Last week, that counts.
That counts, yeah. That's the hurling one. This is football.
Yeah. No, I get it. Understand. Patronising dick.
And that's it. You got nothing to answer then after that? It's
Dublin.
Dublin. All right, we actually do have a consensus for the first time on the show. That was question 9. On to question number 10. The best defence in the country. Who's going to be the most staunchest set of backs to come up against this year?
Mayo.
Fermanagh. Why Fermanagh? Mayo's an interesting one. We'll come back to that in just a second.
Yeah, I mean, Fermanagh is obviously mildly facetious, but like Rory Gallagher knows how to set up defensive structures. I mean, the Dubs are also pretty good. Like, they're amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about, like...
2-7, Dublin's defence is pretty exceptional. Ricey has a little bit of Tyrone nastiness to go with. The tactical announcer, Rory Gallagher. Yeah, maybe Fermanagh. I just think Mayo, 2-7, have the best 6 defenders in the country if they have a full-back line of Harrison, Barrett, Higgins, and a half-back line of Durkin, Boyle and Keegan.
Yeah, but when's Lee Keegan playing football again? When is Lee Keegan playing football again?
Man is Superman.
I know, but like, there's only so many times you can got it well, Nathan. That well. There's only a tiny dribble of water left.
No, he'll be back in 2 or 3 weeks. Don't you panic.
Galway is going to be the staunchest defence this summer.
No, if you include their forwards being defenders.
Oh, but I mean, that's the question. It's like, whatever the style of play is.
It's going to be the most negative team. Oh, that'll be Galway.
Ooh. How negative are they going to be?
Like, as negative as they were at McHale Park.
And where does that rank in the all-time negative GAA teams in your view?
Well, they did what had to be done. They were taking on one of the great
winners
GAA teams. You do what you got to do. Listen, they grounded out against a team short of 4 or 5 of their best players. You know, been on the road for years, and they just about... McHale Park isn't the home. Did you see the state of that pitch?
I see you haven't won a game there all year.
Yeah, the pitch is a disgrace.
Well, fix it.
So I hate Galway. Roscommon's always been the enemy for me because we're closer to the Roscommon border. But there is that nagging fear once again that after losing All Ireland finals in 96 and 97 that somehow Dublin get beaten by Kerry and Galway sneak in. So
how much did he hate them then?
A lot.
So you just hate Galway in general?
So much so that he went and lived there and worked there. And they gave him a home, they gave him a dog and a string, and they put their...
That's the city.
They put their beard around him.
That's the city, Jared. They don't care about their football in the city.
Snuggled in against them.
So we've got Pundit of the Summer in the hurling wrapped up already. Tommy Walsh claimed that award with his Rihanna anecdote a couple of weeks ago. What is going to be Pundit of the Summer when it comes to the football? It's question number 11.
Well, Brawley is the obvious answer, but I think Sean Kavanagh has decided, do you know what? I'm going all out.
Philip Jordan wrote a pretty interesting column on one of those websites the other day where he was like, I see he's just learning from Brawley. Like, I mean, I'd say this to his face, and we played together a long time, but no, he's just doing stuff.
The civil war within Tyrone football could boil over as the time goes on.
I don't feel like it's time for Mickey to go. It's like, well, I mean, maybe some other people do.
Sean Kavanagh always had this potential. We had him on reporting on an All-Ireland quarter-final, I think it was 2 years ago, the week after Tyrone had been taken out of the championship, and he ripped Mickey Hart to shreds without naming him. The management team needs to take a good, hard look at themselves. And straight away, you're like, this guy is going to be good. And I think he has decided, do you know what, I could go in and I could be bland and nobody will ever notice me, or maybe I'll take a little bit of a look at Brawley and go, hey, it's showbiz, baby.
I think you give Kavanagh 1 year before you can actually crown him with this weighty crown that we're about to give him here, because there's a format that works in a Sunday game, and it's not in-depth, long, flowing hatred of a management team that he might have done off the ball one day. Sunday game has to be short, snappy. It's got to be, whatever you can say in a tweet, you have to be able to say on the Sunday game, or vice versa.
I think the pundit of the year will be sipping an espresso on the terrazza in Turin when Azeglio Vicini walks out and drops a little bit of old school Juventus style wisdom that is distilled into a nugget in the 3rd paragraph of the Irish Times round about week 10, and Jim McGuinness will go, QED, might drop off, I go.
It's very hard to disagree with that theory, except for the fact that a man called David Brady exists.
Left field.
Yeah.
David Brady or Tomás O'Shea for me to claim Pundit of the Year this year.
Tomás O'Shea, didn't mention Tomás, another person who came out in favour of yes vote in the referendum, sticking his head above the parapet and then answering people in the tweets underneath. So certainly a man who is not lacking for bravery on or off the field.
No, and he's cracked that RTE kind of format at the moment, so he can hit there. His column is always great. And David Brady, of course, seems to have cracked the off the ball code as well.
Well, we need a good Mayo run. We need a good Mayo run to get the best out of DB.
And like set up perfectly for a brilliant Mayo run. That's why DB's been so great the last 2 years. The next one is we've kind of focused on defences as a unit already in this. The next question is, who is going to be the most feared man marker? I'm looking for an individual here, folks.
Like the
Billy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Philly.
He's just come off it that little bit, like.
But how does he make up for that in more aggression?
Maybe, yeah.
Loses the yard of pace, makes up for it in just pure blatant.
Who did Galway have
aggression.
that? I like that.
15 players. Damien Comer, although he's a forward.
Really?
You know, he wants to get involved in a little old tussle.
Yeah, he can definitely do that.
I'm turning this into
Who's
who
going
would you not want to go up against in a scrap?
A Galway roast.
While you're thinking there, John Small is the heir apparent, obviously, in that Philly nature, right?
See, he's too much of a ball player. Well, he's quite the ball player too.
And also being a cornerback helps rather than being a wing back, for sure.
Yeah.
It's interesting we're not naming any Kerry players here at all.
Well, who are the Kerry
where's the nasty
defenders,
streak? Where's the nasty streak in this Kerry side?
Who's going to be doing that job if anybody has to do it?
Shane Enright, potentially Mark Griffin, probably not, to be honest.
Guys unbelievably exposed in last year's All-Ireland semi-final.
Exactly, yeah. But that was kind of more to do with an Andy Moore and shaped Achilles heel rather than anything else. That would be a rabbit hole if we got into that particular
Lee
matchup.
Keegan, if he comes back.
Yeah, Keith
Higgins.
Wasting his talent.
Keith Higgins, good shout. Chris Barrett.
Any of that Mayo fullback line, I think we can all agree.
Enough of the Mayo glorification. The next question, which we're going to be chatting about, is not going to be doing with defences. It is going to be to do with the most improved player. Who is going to be 2018's most improved player before the end of the summer? For me, I'm just going to throw this one out here. Lo and behold, it's a Kerry player. Stephen O'Brien. Stephen O'Brien to be 2018's most improved player.
It's bullshit, because this guy, everybody's going to start going, oh, look, he's passing the ball forward and he's taking responsibility. But Kieran Kilkenny is my shout for Footballer of the Year. He's worth a little nibble at whatever odds he's at the moment, because...
I'm fairly sure he's the favourite.
Is he?
He is the favourite, yeah. He definitely is the favourite.
Like 12s, 14 to 1, or is it shorter than that?
Yeah.
I think he's single figures.
Okay, well, single figures isn't a great price. I just think that, like, there are still people who haven't watched the league who will be like, oh, look at all this sideways passing. It's a betrayal of the ethos of... But actually, it's the role of the point guard in football, in basketball, is to control the game. He's controlled the game better than everybody else. That's finally going to be explained properly in a series of pieces of punditry that everybody goes, oh, look, that guy's really good.
Yeah, Kieran Kilkenny is the guy who loosens the jar before somebody opens it. Like, I've heard that analogy being made about somebody else recently. I can't remember who, but as soon as I heard it, I was like, that's Kieran Kilkenny right there. I mean, he is the reason why they managed to open Tyrone up so blatantly in last year's All-Ireland semi-final.
So I'm going to go for somebody based on last year's performances that if he can get back anywhere near that, will give his team a chance of winning the All-Ireland. James O'Donoghue. If he improves on where he was last year, I know he had all sorts of injury problems, and if he can somehow stay fit for the championship.
That's more a comeback player.
Well, what you're saying is true, but I don't think it answers the question. Who is going to be the most improved player? Like, if he is the most improved player, absolutely. I think my bullishness about Kerry would somehow increase. But will he be the guy who comes back? And,
I'm saying yes.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's a good shout. I like your shout. I'm starting to like your takes on Gaelic football, Nathan. Thank you very much for that. The next one is about management, and who's going to be the manager, or who is currently the manager under the most pressure?
Stephen Rochford is bizarrely, I think, the manager under the most pressure, considering he's got a side to 2 All-Ireland finals in the 2 seasons he's been in charge. But
what have you done for me lately, Nathan? What have you done for me lately?
A lot of people sniping down in Mayo and around Mayo, so I think Rochford, if they were to go out in the qualifiers, that would be that more than likely for him.
It feels like this is his last year unless they win anyway, right? It doesn't feel like that's a 6-year term he's gone for.
No, and I remember having a conversation with James Horn after last year's All-Ireland final, and he was saying that it almost felt as though
just you sitting there gazing along in his eyes. Come back.
It was tears at this stage. It was shortly after his full-time whistle.
Come back.
No, I think Stephen Rochford has done an unbelievably good job, and we need to stop this constant Horn needs to return and that is what's going to change everything. But Horn was making a very valid point that Stephen Rochford had more stress in his 2 years than Horn had in his 4 years, because stressed in terms of so many big matches, so much pressure going into so many different games. Whereas Mayo, under Horan for a long time, were sort of cruising during Connacht. You're not having any restless nights there. So I think that's probably the reason why it would be Rochford's last year, that it's just simply impossible for him to go on under that level of pressure for another year.
Is Eamon Fitzmaurice under pressure?
Of course he is. He's Kerry manager who hasn't won an All-Ireland since 2014. That is the definition of pressure in Kerry.
But is he? Because does Fitzmaurice not have the backing of the county board? He's
should
under
do.
pressure from the supporters.
He signed a long-term deal for
And rightly so. I mean, it is a 3-year project to make sure that these guys are brought through, and in reality he shouldn't be under that much pressure this year if you're going to think about the greater good, but naturally he is because of the circumstances in that county. I think Kieran McGeeney could be a shout for a manager under pressure as well, and that's completely unrealistic expectations from an Armagh perspective, that they can achieve better than they did last year.
Well, is it? Like, if you had all of the available resources playing for you, if you had all the Cross-McGlenn players playing for you, then you would be a team that people would expect to be a Division 2 team and potentially, nipping at the heels of the Division 1 teams. As it is, many of those players who are good enough to play into county football aren't playing. It's kind of like, well, whose responsibility is that? It's partly them, it's partly him. What's the share of that pie?
And realistically, McGeeney not being a yes man could lead to his own downfall.
Yeah,
and
true.
Good luck to him.
Cian O'Neill is under pressure. I think that's just how Kildare football eats itself again and again and again and again and again and again.
Pete McGrath?
I mean, Pete McGrath did lay into his own team. So.
Like he's probably going to walk away himself rather than be put under pressure at the end of this year. He's already said, I regret taking this job. He's made better decisions in his life. So I think it's fairly ominous there in the Louth camp. The next question is going to be a fairly quick one. It's number 15. Who's got the best midfield? These questions were written before the Tom Parsons injury, just letting you know.
Dublin, by far.
The Dubs.
The Dubs. Let's move on. Will Cork be better or worse than last year? We kind of touched on this, but there's a bit left to talk about maybe.
I can't see them being any better in that I don't see them beating Tipperary, and it's hard to see them having any sort of quality to go and cause an upset.
I can't see them being any worse is the other issue. Like, who eventually knocked them out last year?
Mayo.
Yeah. After
extra time, remember?
Yeah, so
they have those performances in them, and I always look back on the Brian Cuthbert era, which was the last time I properly hated Cork, and they've now got his selector Ronan McCarthy at the helm here. I mean, I know it's only symbolism really. None of us can really claim to know the ins and outs of Ronan McCarthy's style of management unless we're actually from Cork, but even just that symbolism leads me to be a little bit hopeful that I'll start to hate Cork a little bit again this year.
You mean in a good way? Hate them
in a good way. I mean, like when they were 2010, when you absolutely hated every fibre of Cork's beings, whereas the last 2 years I've been like, I'd rather like Cork, which is never a good thing. They will beat Tipperary, I think, and I think that's a sign of improvement in itself. The next one is going to be worst team of the summer. Has it already been answered? Has the Offaly debacle already turned them into this? There is a huge opportunity for Paul Rouse to bring them onto the next level.
Armagh, Mayo, all the possibilities are endless.
So who is going to be the worst team of the summer once we go through these next 6 weeks?
The worst is versus expectations. Expectations for Offaly were pretty low, so I don't think you can kind of... there's a possibility that any of those teams who limp into the qualifiers, players are already gone...
Armagh the most likely. 7 points. They only kicked 8 points in their last championship game last summer. So if they end up losing first round of the qualifiers, comfortably the worst team of the summer.
Yeah, we're going to rattle through these last few ones very quickly. Just some quick fire ones to finish off. Ulster's best chance in the All-Ireland?
Donegal.
In the All-Ireland?
In the All-Ireland series, yeah.
Still think Tyrone.
I'd be on Donegal's side myself. Can Galway make the All-Ireland final? Is that burning question that's going to come up over the last couple of weeks.
Do they have to play Dublin in the semis?
In the semis, if they come second in their Super 8 group, yes.
And if they win their Super 8, they'll avoid them.
They probably will avoid Dublin.
But they're going to be in the same Super 8 group as Kerry.
Which will be in Croke Park. So...
No.
They can, I don't think they will.
I don't think they will either, but I think
that's
they can.
That's a no. They're no's. You can't say that.
Okay, no.
You're saying both answers.
No.
You're saying both answers.
No. Galway will not be in an All-Ireland final. They will not be in an All-Ireland final. Can anyone in Leinster come close to Dublin?
Like 10 points close?
10 points close. Like 9 and below close.
I mean, accidentally, yeah, because the Dubs get bored 3/4 of the way through and throw the ball into their own net a couple of times.
I don't think there'll be any part of this Leinster Championship where Dublin look like losing a game.
No, it's a fat no. No, never.
Yeah, it's no. Dublin to become the best team of all time this year?
No, they've got to win next year. 5 in a row.
Got to win the 5 in a row, and they know that.
Absolutely. So none of your talking about Dublin as the best team of all time this summer if they happen to win the All Ireland. Footballer of the year.
Style. I mean, they're already as good as the Grey Kerry team. They have as many All Irelands in as many years. They're one short, right?
Well, exactly. Yeah, they're one.
But Also, Kerry had to beat 2 teams, and that was it. There was no back door. It was a far less serious game.
Dublin beat 1 team last year. They had one proper game.
Oof.
One tough game. Footballer of the year, who's it going to be? You already said your uncle, Kenny.
I'd go back on that. Brian Fenton.
Footballer of the year, Johnny Cooper.
Why?
Headers don't really get it that much.
I'm just thinking that maybe this year they're going to go for something slightly different. Maybe he'll be man of the match in the All-Ireland final. Keep Andy Moore quiet.
No, that's not enough. So Leroy gets it.
Because he was deserving
and
of
scores
the honour.
Scores loads of goals. It's fun. It's flash. But Johnny Cooper's not flash enough to get the votes. Is his name actually Leroy? Because they've started to print it in the newspapers like it is.
I didn't notice that quite recently.
What's going on?
As far as I know, it's just his nickname.
Like, is it? Are they saying it's Gooch now? It's at Gooch levels, Leroy? But it's like, it's not really that. Come on.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
Stop calling him Leroy in the papers. Unless his name is actually Leroy.
I think it might be.
Is his name actually Leroy?
I'm starting to think his name is your name Leroy. Do tweet us if you're watching. Do Lees out there? I don't know many Lees personally. I wonder, does it say Leroy on their birth certificate?
It's a great question. We'll ask him.
That'll be on our spicy questions this time next year, because this is definitely returning, this format. What is your hope?
Next year we might even do it before the championship starts.
What is your hope for the summer? This is our last question, so be as hot in your takes here as possible.
My hope for the summer is that Mayo return, because I think, and I'd actually like to see Mayo and Tyrone in the Super 8s, because suddenly you've got good depth. I'd like to see Dublin having to go to maybe Castlebar, or to go to Ballyboface, somewhere like that, where they'd be under a little bit of pressure. I just want the Super 8s to be great.
Owen wants them to split the hill 50-50.
For All-Ireland final, for games when it's a neutral venue, which is basically all of Dublin's games, bar their home game in the Super 8.
Okay. I don't know. I think if you want to beat Dublin, you want to beat the hill.
It's worth 4 points, roughly. It's worth a load of stuff. If you read Kieran Shannon yesterday in the Irish Examiner, the home advantage intimidates referees. The hill in particular will have the same impact as home court advantage in big basketball games, or in La Liga. It's been proven that referees give extra time to home teams if they need to score a late goal.
Well, did you read the piece by Paul Tompkins about Liverpool not getting penalties at Anfield in front of the Kop?
I didn't. Because
the referees feel that people feel they'll be biased, so they go against that.
Well, I mean, is that science, or is that just I've watched a few games, you should have get penalties?
No, this is based on Liverpool in recent seasons, statistically speaking.
Well, okay, I mean...
But I still think I would like to go and beat Dublin with the hill full of blue.
I mean, you would.
In tears.
But that's
I've seen it. It's a beautiful feeling. It's a beautiful, beautiful feeling. What's your hope for the summer?
Kerry get their comeuppance. Just you. Just for you. Just for you. Just for that shit that you just said.
That's where we're going to leave things for this year's edition of Spicy Questions ahead of the GA Championship. 23 of them, to be precise. We should do more spicy questions.
It went on way too long.
It went on way too long. They weren't very spicy. It was kind of like a curry from North Dublin kind of thing. Not actually from the source, but...
hey, there's loads of great curries.
I'm going to the wrong places, clearly. But I can't handle spicy, so I don't know why I'm even talking about this.
amazing.
Thank you very much for joining us. Tweet us at OffTheBallAM.
And I needed to step away from the sport, And luck, I got caught, and I did have to step away from the sport. Probably one of the best things that ever happened to me.
At that stage, the motivation was to beat Lance. That was it. That was like...
Well, just to win.
Yeah.
To win, to beat Lance would have been icing on the cake.
What would winning have given you, do you think? Or what was...
it would have gotten worse then, It would just been, I would have gotten...
But if you put yourself back in 2004, Tyler's head, it's like, well, I'm doing all this with the purpose of winning, and when I do that, somehow salvation will be mine.
I don't know. Yeah, who knows what would have happened. It just brought on more pressure, more,
You're just part of a system.
Yeah, I was definitely part of the system. And but I was a willing participant.
Sure.
Willing participant. And, once I bought into it, I was like, okay, this is how it's done. And I just rolled up my sleeves. I looked the other way. I changed as a person. I knew the whole time I was wrong, but I was like, F it, I'm doing it. Like, this is how it's done. I saw how, certain individuals did it. This is how we're going to do it. You can love him or hate him, but Lance, I like to win, but Lance really had to win. He second to me was really good, but he didn't like to finish in second. So he was the most motivated person that I saw ever that wanted to win was Lance.
People are still obsessed with him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not here just, obviously Lance and I have our stuff. We're not friends anymore. I certainly don't hate him. I used to hate him, hate his guts. I don't hate him anymore. I've forgiven him in my own sort of way.
He didn't speak to you after Oprah or around Oprah, did he?
But I'm not here to talk.
No,
I'm just here to share my story and tell the truth about what can happen if you don't really think about long-term consequences.
That was our Tuller Hamilton interview from earlier on in the week, a little clip snippet of it. You can get the whole thing on our OTB AM podcast feed, but we'll also put up a full separate podcast of it in our OTB highlights. Yes, that's where we'll do that.
Yeah, or you could scroll to whatever 40-something, 50-something minutes on that podcast from Tuesday, which is available now online. So if you need it immediately, you can go there.
Big response to, 2 tweets.
To
our 22 spicy questions. Did we miss one? It was supposed to be 23, wasn't it?
There was 23 in front of me, yeah. I think we skipped one by accident. But yeah, it's certainly, there's some work-ons you can take from the spicy questions, which we'll have some group think about. And going forward, we will ensure that best practice is met.
We didn't get to the bottom of the Lee Keegan issue.
No, we didn't. What the hell is going on there? Is his name Leroy? I'm starting to suspect it is.
Why did the media suddenly decide to start calling him Leroy Keegan in print?
Exactly.
I think it's just they stick it in assuming that somebody's going to pick it up, and then it doesn't get picked up. That's the issue.
That's
it's the sub-editors.
That's fine to do it once. It's a long-running joke at this point, where we've seen it on a number of titles.
Yeah. They all got together and decided, let's just do this. Let's rename him Lee into Leroy and see what the feedback is.
It's obviously his Twitter handle, which I assumed was kind of what he's called in a tongue-in-cheek manner, but maybe it's just his real name, and I would like to know the answer here. As we said a couple of minutes ago, we're not familiar with a whole pile of Lees, so maybe Leroy is just the actual name for Lees.
Leroy Westwood doesn't kind of ring off the tongue, does it?
No. There's a very famous other Leroy Jenkins. You're probably not familiar with Leroy Jenkins, are you?
I'm not, no.
No, we can talk about that little part of culture, maybe on a show on a different day. It's basically a video game reference. We could
Hearthstone.
Say that again?
Oh, it's World of Warcraft.
Yes.
Okay.
World of Warcraft. It's basically a guy who runs into kind of a room of very serious gamers and, I don't know, kills all his teammates or something and then shouts Leroy Jenkins. It's not a very funny thing to explain like that, but if you watch the video, you'd probably laugh. That's your go-to, that's your to-do today, is watch and become familiar with Leroy Jenkins. Leroy Keegan, though, obviously, is our number one. Leroy Jenkins in at number 2.
Owen had a late night last night, everybody, just to remind you of something that, if you've just joined us, we got out of him at the start of the show.
Oh, what does that have to do with anything?
Nothing. John Giles, Graham Hunter on Spanish Football tonight. The GAA weekend preview with James O'Connor and Ollie Canning talking hurling and Brian Cuthbert talking football. That's what's coming up on the radio with Nathan from 7 o'clock at 12:30 today. Sorry, it's with Tommy Martin actually tonight from TV3. TV hottie Tommy Martin, I think he's referred to. At 12:30 today, the Keith Andrews Show. It's the last episode before the summer break. So make sure you tune in for that. He'll be right here in studio at OTB Towers from around about 12:30 today. We are back tomorrow morning at 7:45 with an absolutely ludicrous lineup of superstar guests. Alan Quillen, US Sports Roundup, and former Liverpool goalkeeper Bruce Grobbelaar is going to be in studio talking to Adrian Barry. And you don't remember any of Bruce Grobbelaar. You're far too young.
It's the first time I ever heard of Bruce Grobbelaar was in Soccer AM. That's not true. But like the first time I had ever heard him speak would have been on Soccer AM for sure. So I'm looking forward to becoming an acquaintance of Bruce. Of course I remember Bruce Grobbelaar.
Eugene Brown wants to know, to finish this up today, a Lion Bar or picnic?
I don't know what a Lion Bar is. I was going to say it earlier on, and I was like, there's been too much talk about food. I don't know what a Lion Bar is.
Really?
I don't know what a Lion Bar is, I'm sorry.
You know what a picnic is?
I know what a picnic is, and a picnic is rather disgusting, so I'm going to go with a Lion Bar.
Picnic has raisins in it, does it?
Yeah, perhaps nuts. Describe a Lion Bar in one sentence.
Ferocious. So it's like there's like a solid layer of wafer and toffee, and then on top of that there's kind of Rice Krispies, and it's chocolate, and the chocolate gets hard around the Rice Krispies, so there's like little eddies of chocolate around the edge that are just pure chocolate, and then it's mixed with the Rice Krispies, and like, ooh, I don't know what's going to be that. And then the middle is like much harder than you think it's going to be, so there's chewiness in it. It's about perfection in a chocolate bar, particularly when you're 7 to 12.
Is it your favourite bar?
At that time in my life, yeah. I mean, obviously, you grow out of it and you move on to like the classic Time Out, which was invented when I was like about 12 as well. I was like, oh, look at this. This is sophistication. Wow. There's 2 of them. It lasts forever.
Is it too late to get into lime bars?
I don't think it is. I think that you could actually, they could make a comeback. Now, it's Roundtree chocolate, so it's not quite as nice as Cadbury's, but like, you forgive them for all the rest of the perfection and work that they put into crafting this. Also, it used to be bigger. It used to be like, well, there's my dinner tonight. Now it's like, I'm going to have 2 of these.
And why is it called a lime bar? There's no lime in it from what you've said there.
Lion.
Lion bar. I know what a lion bar is. I know what a lion bar is. I thought you were saying lime bar all morning. Of course I know what a line bar is, and a line bar beats a picnic every day of the week.
I reiterate, Eoin was out late last night and up early this morning. On that note, that's the end of OTB AM, perhaps forever. Good luck, thanks very much. We might see you tomorrow. We might be off the air.
OTB AM.
In association with Air. Get Air Sport free with Air Broadband.